Good morning, chat. How are you doing today? Are you staying out of trouble? Are you behaving on this hump day? Hi, I'm slightly off center. Well, not center. Slide right on over. Why are you punching me? Why are you punching me already? We just started and I was gonna give y'all bad news. Now it's gonna be even worse. Oh my god. Oh my god, the sad face does not work with fucking anything. How are you doing, chat? What trouble are you getting into? Hold on. It's misbehaving already. We're misbehaving already. I'm stressed from work? What did work do? Or is it because of the holidays? It's because of the holidays, isn't it? It's because of the holidays, isn't it? Punch the pixels back into her? I don't think that's how that works. I'm pretty sure that's not how that works. Is leaking juices again? Yes. Yes. You're so mean to me. Well, yeah, because we're gonna be playing a boomer game today. We're gonna be playing a what is it called? A low poly game today. Why not? Chat, do you want to know what the bad news is, or do we want to save it for later? Listen, it's not debilitating, so don't worry. It's nothing crazy serious. So if we want to save the bad news for later, we can talk about something else. All right, somebody shoot Black Dragon first. Bad first? Mean you can't go around saying that. It'll affect our sales. Get bad news out of the way first. All right, chat. The bad news is about yesterday. I was having fun yesterday, but I looked at the analytics of the stream. And it was not good. It was very not good. I was hoping with like new people having come in that people would like to hang out and learn more about Cyberpunk. That was not the case. Even with some good raids yesterday, we were 40% below our normal CCV. Which means basically when we swapped to Cyberpunk, we lost more than likely over 50% of the audience that was there at the time. So Cyberpunk is going back on the back burner. Cyberpunk got 1 day of an attempt and everybody still hates it. Everybody still hates it. Hi, Melissa. How are you doing? It happens. It happens. There's sometimes games that are like that. And it's one of those things that I was considering doing a whole playthrough on to show people like the story or do something like goofy as shit with all the explosive damage that we were going to do. Eventually, it takes time to get to those things, especially in Cyberpunk very hard mode. Can we do it in Discord? Mayhaps. We may do it. We may do it on like TikTok or something. I still need to do TikTok streams. I have not done any since they've given me permission to live stream again. And that's not me having gotten in trouble for live streaming. That's just because if you don't stream on TikTok for a while, they like take away your permission to live stream and you have to like re-request it and you get like stream light, which means you only get like a quarter of all of their features. Bonjour. But it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, you have to stream 3 times on stream light before you actually get to do the more normal stuff. For the Cyberpunk app? I mean, comparatively, y'all don't like Cyberpunk. Nobody wants to watch Cyberpunk. Which I think is, like, unfortunate. Although I can also... Hold on a second. That's not what I wanted. Yeah. A little bit of side angle. Hi, chat. How are you doing? We're going to look at chat right over here. How are you doing, chat? You okay? How about the scariest thing Marin's done in years? What does that mean? Oh, going to TikTok? It's fine. It's fine. We need a new audience then? It happens. There's especially the thing if you're playing games with like devoted player bases, it's a little what's the word? Finicky? Or even worse, there's like some people that still have a bad opinion of Cyberpunk because they remember it when it came out in like 2020, 2017. I think it came out in 2017. I'm pretty sure that's when it came out. And so everybody's like, I don't want to see this broken ass game. Or I don't care for the story. It just looks like a goofy shooter. What the fuck? It happens. Did it really come out in 2020? I could have swore it came out later than or earlier than that. Oh, it did come out in 2020. Huh. Okay, I guess I played it during the COVID lockdown a whole bunch then. That's so weird. No, wait. That's the end of the year. Wait, I already graduated? I could have swore I played that game in college. I could have swore I played Cyberpunk 2077 while I was in college. What? The 5th anniversary edition? What's special about the 5th anniversary edition? Anybody know? Anybody got an idea? Nothing? Yay? Nay? Mayhaps? Mayhaps not? We got nipples and everything and no one stayed Sag? Apparently. Hi, Jerry. How are you doing? Just that's the 5th anniversary? Weird. Let's see. Cyberpunk. Oh, whoops. 5th anniversary collector's set. Celebrates 5th anniversary with heartfelt messages from developers. Anniversary edition. Okay. 5 years since launch on the CD Projekt Red website. What's the deal? Turn off, turn off, turn off. Sure. Is the new stuff just the TCG? Is it just the TCG? We talked about that yesterday. Limited edition. CD Projekt Red has teamed up with Vitcher to create the limited edition Cyberpunk Luma Cyber XR glasses. All right, what the fuck are those? And are they going to be stupid campy? I feel like they're going to be stupid campy. They are $550. These are so fucking ass, dude. All right, chat. Do you want to see what these fucking bitch ass glasses look like? Oh, what the hell? Oh, it moved. Okay, it just changed the page. Here, let me get the screen down for y'all. And I will have to move myself a little bit. And then hold on, I just realized I still have Clip Studio open. Grab this, grab this. The fuck are these things? It's just the big ass frames with like sort of kind of Karoshi on the side. Come with interchangeable nose things. Are they, what are these things on the top and why is it so fucking thick? Description. Luma Pro powered by the same stunning visuals as Venture Luma Ultra. Latest micro OLED panel. They're fucking smart glasses. 152, wait, what? 152 inch virtual display, 120 refresh rate, and up to 1500 nits of brightness. Wait, is there another pair of glasses on the inside? Do y'all see that? It looks like there's another frame on the fucking inside. What? Can we use them to scroll BDs? No. Retro fashion that spies on you? Apparently. Engineered for seamless compatibility across major handhelds, it works perfectly with Steam Deck, MSI Claw 8 AI+, the Asus ROG Ally, Legion Go, and more. Are they tiny Google glasses? Is that what this is? It feels like that's what this is. And it has speakers built into them too. Only 10,000 serialized units exist. Strictly limited. I want to see some of these others. Christ. Okay. Vaguely adjustable. And then those are for if your eyes are like different distances and stuff. There's the fucking camera. Of course, they're also auto-changing. Is this the Switch too? What is this big thing on the back of it? Can anybody explain what this big thing on the back is? Is that the part of the bay? I don't know what that is. I'm baffled. Prob's the port. This big thing that's stuck to the back of the screen. Probably the case. It does not look like the case because the larger flat thing at the bottom is the screen, right? Is that a capture card? Or wait, this says glasses. Those look like, that little port right there looks like glasses. Is this something that comes with it? What's in the box? No, it's not there. Here it is. Mobile dock. $99 currently. $30 off. Perfect for Switch and Switch 2 gaming and sharing with family and friends. Allows you to put your console in docked mode on the go. Adds HDMI support to your XR setup. Unlocks local co-op on 2 pairs of glasses and even contains a massive power bank for hours of extra battery life on connected devices. Okay. I guess. But yeah, this is apparently how they want you to experience this. Honestly, it's very cyberpunk. I think I would almost rather just put on a whole VR headset though. You know, it actually sounds kind of cool. I've never played a game in VR before. That could be interesting with like a screen capture and then us sitting in like a room. Also, Coco wants to go out, so give me just a second, or I'm gonna go slack for a second. Come on, Stevie. Okie dokie. Oh, and of course it uses like the magnet thing. Hold on, I'll fix myself. There we go. UK Prime Minister has pledged his investment into Rockstar Games over alleged union busting after they fired 31 developers. Why don't we just kill these fucking people? Oh god, I just spit. That was gross. But you can get a meta quest for half the cost. That's also true. We actually do have where is it? I've had a meta quest on Throne for quite a while. Right here. Bam. There's also a Switch on here because I want to play Kirby Air Riders. I need it. Eventually. We'll get it eventually. And then there's my favorite, the Glucose Guardian that never actually has to be bought. I just think it's funny that it's here. But if somebody pays it, it's going to go right back into the stream. If somebody pays that basically pays for more than the entire cost of the summer outfit. I own Kirby Air Riders. I know you do, Ordain, and I'm jealous. You were talking about it earlier. All those things you could be gifting that allow me to add additional things to the stream. We could always bring back the Pokemon streams. Those were kind of fun. Wait, is that a PSP? They use a PSP as an example here? That's strange. Wait. What is the difference between the Ultra and the Pro? Also, I'd be terrified of these things overheating on my face, or worse, exploding. PS Vita, maybe? How old are these, though? Wasn't the last PlayStation handheld the PlayStation 5, like, handheld? Or PlayStation 4 handhelds? A sugar bomber for the Marin lock? Oh, you're talking about getting me to do, like, a Nuzlocke thing. I mean, we'll probably do one someday. I've never done one. I think if we do it, though, we'll probably do it in, like, my favorite Pokemon game, which is Emerald. On your face, this doesn't sound like you. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? What do you mean by that? Explain yourself. Also, hold on a second. There we go. Why are you like this? Why are you like this? I want something chunky and cyberpunk looking. The thing is, though, is like, I would rather wait out these like clunky as shit, thick, ugly glasses squared, basically, and wait for Kuroshi optics to eventually get invented. Just give me the cyber eyes in the future where I don't need glasses anymore. So like questioning why the hell they would make these smart glasses to begin with. Because tech billionaires are really, 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 really stupid. Low poly looking ass. Thank you. Hi, favorite. Vita was the portable console. Portal was the for streaming games. Was it called the PlayStation Portal? Is that what it was? I never got it, and I've never met a single person that owned it. So, I mean, flexible payments starting at $130. Do not ever, chat, stick with me on this. Do not ever do a pay like month by month plan, because that shit is predatory as fuck. They don't want you to pay it off. And more than not, if you may be good with money, but more often than not, you will fail to essentially like remember that these payments are coming through, and you'll get behind. Just in general. If you can't afford it all in one go, you can't afford it. Unless it's like a major emergency, then I don't think there's a reason to pay it in installments. Not pays in months for everything? Do you really, Sunstar? Do you really? Create debt and reclaim what you bought? Yep. Meant to be more than just paying upfront anyway? Yeah. I only ever did that once, but I paid it off in big chunks. That's a skill issue? I'm asking, Sunstar, do you really pay for a lot of your things in a month by month basis? Just don't pay it easy. Ah, yes, the 5-finger discount. Remember, kids, it's always morally right to shoplift from major providers like Walmart. Just do it smart. Don't be like the idiots that like run in, snatch stuff, and run out. That's how you end up on Instagram. How many of you how many of you have seen those videos of like, I forget what they call them. It's basically the like blitzkrieg of shoplifting. Just eat it. Oh my God, grins. I mean, it's like, who doesn't remember videos online of people like in malls just kind of nonchalantly walking, and then like a group of 6 people suddenly just pull out garbage bags and start shoveling clothes into the bag? A few things. I mean, even if I have money on hand, I might sometimes still go monthly. It's safer if you keep up with it. It is safer, Sunstar. It's a good thing too. But on average, people can't do that, which is like really unfortunate. Let me also put the screen away. We can go back to, let's actually go to the desk, but I will have to readjust myself. Because this one does not have a position. Hi, chat. Too small. Turn, damn you. There we go. Actually, maybe we do need to be a bit bigger. That'll do. Anyway, take these away. All right. Isn't that called Black Friday? No, you're thinking of the storming to buy stuff. Yay, consumerism. But no. There's videos of like people out there that and it has a different name. It's just the name's not coming to me, like rush shoplifting or something. But the strategy is to basically barely look like a customer. And as soon as you cross the threshold of, say, like you're walking into a mall, you essentially bum rush the nearest racks to the entrance and just start shoving things into a bag. There was also situations in, I think it was Walgreens a couple years ago, where people were doing the exact same thing with like meds. Sincerely, Konotomo, real lawyer, virtual streamer. Smash and grabs? Smash and grabs kind of works, but smash and grabs I think usually pertains to like jewel heist. or display case thefts where you basically just bash in the display case, snatch the stuff while the alarm's going off, and leave. No way that ever works. I think sometimes it does. But the only thing I could guess too is if you're snatching just whatever's at the entrance, you're not stealing that stuff for yourself. You're stealing that stuff to scalp it. You're going to resell it, which is usually where people get caught. They usually get caught reselling that shit. Oh, I've seen that. I've seen people do that at Apple stores. There was videos, I think it was only a year, maybe 2 years ago, of some guy like going into the Apple store and then literally just ripping them off the stands and off the cables, which is goofy because those iPhones have been used by so many people and are only made to be display models. They're virtually useless. They're virtually useless. Who would buy secondhand National Enquirer? That's a magazine, isn't it? Nah, usually it's clothes and stuff that people snatch. Or if it's like Best Buy, I don't think I've seen a Best Buy snatch and grab happen like that. But it's usually the one time someone tried to sell a shoplifted ham on the street. Okay. Shoplifts the morgue? The morgue? Wait, what? What are you doing? Stealing dead people's rings? To keep in mind, inflation from 2021 to 2024 has gone up a little over 20% for the cost of living, meaning more and more people are having to use payment plans just to afford things. Like the inflation rate, 2.4%, is only considered a few months of inflation, not even yearly, and that rate from 21 to 24 is not fucking normal. It's fucking hyperinflation. Yeah! And don't forget, like I said yesterday, the Federal Reserve is currently printing money. It's about to get worse. Also, I highly recommend y'all, if y'all are desperate enough to need something like pay monthly or a payday loan, do not start a payday loan. Do not start a payday loan if you can help it. I recommend instead, even if you're afraid of needles, you may need to suck it up and go try and donate plasma. You can at least get a little bit of money back. Shoplift from the French catacombs next to totally not a necromancer. Oh my god. Legalized loan sharking. Yep. That is what payday loans are. Payday loans function under the habit that they expect you, if you get one payday loan, you will continue to get payday loans because you will always be behind. If you become desperate enough to get a payday loan, you will more than likely never be able to pay it off because of its high interest and just like more than likely your wages not going up high enough to pay all of it off. And if you ever see those apps that are like, what is it? The get your money now before your paycheck. Do not ever use those apps. Do not ever use those apps. They will find a way to scam you, cheat you out of your money, or just suck away your money. I've had to do payday loans and rental payments for. It sucks, and I've had to get out of it. Rental payments are not quite the same as like payday loans. If you're renting like a property or something, like an apartment rent or anything like that. There are some things where it's like the rent to own. Rent to own is a little kind of depends. Like most places, you end up paying several times the worth of an item if you pay for rent to own. You'll end up paying like 3 times the amount that couch was worth. Those are blood scams in an app. Yep. One place near me is paying out $1,000 per month for regular plasma donations of twice per week. Damn, I could use that. I need to go check out BioLife. I keep getting advertisements for BioLife. The thing is, though, if I go to BioLife, I kind of have to lie to be able to donate plasma, and I don't think that's a good thing, which is kind of the main reason I do not go. I do not. Finally finished my last exam, and I get to walk on graduation this Sunday. Let's go, Sim! Hell yeah, dude! You live near vampires and they're playing good? Oh my god, they're paying good? Listen, that'd be awesome if they were. Yeah, BioLife advertises shockingly high prices. I genuinely don't know if they actually pay those prices. Like here they advertise, I think it's like $700. Something like that. Could that's yeah, that's I was gonna say that summer model would be paid for basically in a couple months. But there is actually a plasma donation place literally next door to my gym, but it's not BioLife. And there's usually a lot of sketchy people sitting outside there. I wish I was joking. If I go to the gym on Monday and I get there before their like opening time, there's a bunch of sketchy looking people sitting out on the outside waiting for them to unlock the door, which is very sad. I have a ton of blood. Did me good back in 2014. Yeah. 20 squats. All right, Pippin, hold on. I just blood max, so I should donate it. Blood max. Hi, Jay. Thank you for doing your season pass. Holy shit, dude. Thank you for 4 months. Wait. I thought you had higher than 4. Why did I think you had higher than 4? I thought you'd been here longer than that. That's weird. That's very weird. Plasma is different from blood? Yes. If you've never seen donating plasma, it's basically they put a fairly large needle in your arm that both basically takes up your blood, puts it through a machine, takes out the plasma, and then puts everything back in. So like all the red blood cells, all that jazz. It usually takes like, I think 40 minutes is the average that I've heard. Through Kono a little while ago. I suppose that, let me see here. You can actually check. How long have you been following? Since April of this year. That's more than 4 months. It happens. It happens though. I was like, for some reason I thought it was longer. Maybe I'm thinking of a different J. I think I am thinking of a different J. The plasma is the pre-blood? Kind of, yeah. If you want to call it that. It's used for a lot of illnesses. And like, if you want a good example, Iron Mouse advocates for donating plasma all the time. Because part of the reason she's still alive is because of donated plasma. Yeah. They quite literally only filter out the plasma. And it all goes in and comes out through the same needle. Earlier, but didn't start watching until I saw you with Kono. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I don't think crusty blood cells back, though. That's a shame. You're getting them back. Because my condition, sadly, party wishes. I could just do something good. Yeah. It's... there's always something about it. Yeah, plasma requirements are a little bit different than blood requirements. Unfortunately, in the United States, I'm not even joking, in some states, it is illegal for people who have ever bedded a person of their same, like, birth sex to donate plasma or blood. Have you ever had sex with someone of your same gender assigned at birth? No. Shut up. I blame Kono and Marky for 99% of the streamers I watch. That's a good people to blame. That's a good amount of people to blame. No icky rainbow blood, please. It's actually it is typically a leftover, both from, well, anti-gay discrimination, but also tied in with that is the anti, like, HIV and AIDS epidemic stuff. That was usually when a bunch of those laws kind of came out. Gay blood hate, so no. Can also donate bone marrow. Have fun with that. Donating bone marrow sucks. There's the other J I was thinking of. But yeah, there's some stuff out there. Wait, what the hell is this? Ha! Nice. Nice. Okay. You also don't grow bone marrow back? No, you can grow bone marrow back. The thing is, though, is it's a highly invasive surgery, and it's not something you do on a whim or just to go into like a bank like you do with blood plasma or blood donations. In the case of bone marrow, you typically know the person that you were donating to. Obscenely painful. The thing is, it's full surgery. They knock your ass out and they go and cut the bone open. Hell on earth, honestly? Yeah. So they don't care much about its quality. Yeah. And the thing is too is who knows how many of the like gay people out there have particular like antibodies or anything that could be useful for blood plasma donations. Like, oh, what was that one guy's name that had like, I don't think it was a cure for like Legionnaires or something like that. But it's essentially a genial disease that like kills hundreds of babies a year. But his body happened to have the right kind of, we'll call it stuff, because I don't know it off the top of my head, that could essentially prevent the premature deaths of all of these young children that were susceptible to this disease. And so he donated blood like literally every chance he got. I sold my bone marrow to pay the light bill. Lights turn off. I didn't have a lot of blood. What? I was going to say, selling bone marrow, though, to the right person could potentially set you up for life. You think an old man who's like worked his life away to have millions of dollars in his retirement isn't going to be willing to pay thousands of dollars? Who has that golden blood, and thus, yep, it happens. But a lot of the time, it's like it's not up to the like the stores and everything. It's up to to old legislation and bigots in governments. While like it is practical to a certain degree at one point, it's no longer practical. It's kind of dumb. It also comes down to like, I've seen some people argue this before whenever the talk of what is it? When the talk of like, why am I brain farting on this phrase? Of like removing those laws from the books, basically. Just removing those laws. And blame Nancy. Fuck Nancy. Oh, why is my brain turning to pudding on this one? On those laws, they will always pitch some like malevolent force idea that's like, but then the gays are going to start sending in all those dudes that have the HIV and the AIDS so that they can infect straight people. They'll say shit like that. They'll say shit like that. Nancy, the throat goat Reagan? Yeah. Rainbow blood inside of them? Who cares? 7 virtual machines for my computer? Why do you have 7? Why do you have 7? Explain. What? They know about the secret AIDS task force? Oh my God. No, but that argument almost always comes up when shit like that is pitched. They have some weird imaginary idea of like gay bioterrorists that would rather like bug chasers that essentially like pick up these illnesses and then donate blood to try and infect other people, as if the system doesn't already scan for all of those things. I'd have a Windows server, a pfSense VM, a Windows VM, and 4 different Ubuntu VMs? Why? Fucking why? How much memory do you have? Spare uppies, Gannon. We talked about this. We talked about this, big man. What's the rule? What's the rule, boss man? That one quest from Bloodlines, but with gay people? Which one are you thinking of? Okay, hold on. I just saw a thing that I think is kind of cool. Where did it go? Ah, shit. I don't think it's going to show it to me. Nope, there's no tags there. No tags there at all. Neat. Well, damn. Oh no, YouTube TV. Okay. Had a network management class, database management, and systems management. So you separated them into a bunch of different virtual machines? Don't critique the virtual machines if you aren't willing to pay for our real machines instead. Okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. No, that makes sense. Okay. Hand over the uppies or the caw gets it? Caw. Caw? What's the caw? I'm confused. Hmm? What's the caw, Gannon? What are you on about? That might have been what the teachers asked for. That's kind of what I was asking. Caw D's. Oh my god. Yes, mods. That one right up there. You missed. Mostly. You missed mostly. That vampire who was chilling in a sewer biting people to give the... was he in the sewer? He was in the sewer. One of them was in the sewer. The one that we... the Nosferatu that we ran into in the sewer. Oh my god. I hate that. I hate that a lot. You'll never catch me, you fuck! I still thought Nancy Reagan was alive. Never mind. I got it wrong. I had to fact check that. So you had to double check if Nancy Reagan was alive. Wait a second. Okay. Those are people talking about... Well, Sai's applied to partner. Sai's gonna have partner in like 2 weeks. Mark my words. Somebody write that down. What's today? 12:53, December 10th. Sai's gonna have partner in 2 weeks or less. And I'm gonna be upset about it because I'm a jealous bitch. And I can't help it. Okay. No, this IT stuff when they get to the servers. Which servers? What servers? Wait, I'm confused. Only natural non? Yeah. Yeah. What if we had a rogue element decide to forsake health and put hundreds of people in danger of death? Sacra family owners of Purdue Pharma and archdemons of the Oxy scandal. Oh my god, the Oxycontin scandal? What's that other medicine? Thalidomide? Who remembers thalidomide? Nobody here is probably old enough to know or remember thalidomide. Well, you could probably know it if you know history. It's in the original We Didn't Start the Fire. The Children of Thalidomides. You knew what thalidomide, baby? Oh no. Okay, if any of y'all have seen a like grown adult or anything that basically had like nubbly legs and nubbly arms, like to the point of uselessness, that like in this day and age they would be full adults if not old people if they were still alive. That is primarily what a bunch of kids that were born from mothers that took thalidomides came out like. Speedrun 80%. How to get murdered in the carnival speedrun. Wait, who said that? Time to bark for Baron like people do for Sai? No, absolutely not. I'm not breaking out the dog clicker because it's annoying. I don't like dog clickers. I don't like the training shit. I don't like the overly sexual stuff. I like being me. Although that means I can also boop. All right. I guess she learns something new every day, huh? Which part? Banning sexual? I'm not banning sexual. When have I ever banned somebody for being, well, unless they're like stupid horny. Unless it's like stupid horny and it's like first time chatters. Stuff about thalidomide. Didn't know that was the thing? Okay, yeah. Hold on a second. Thalidomide. Here, we'll talk about it a little bit. Thalidomide, sold under the brand name Contergan or Thalamid, among others, is an orally administered medication used to treat a number of cancers and many skin disorders, complications of leprosy, and skin lesions. Thalidomide has been used to treat conditions associated with HIV, aphthous ulcers, HIV-associated wasting syndrome, diarrhea, and Kaposi sarcoma, but increases in HIV viral load have been reported. Hold on. Where's the... I need the... There it is. The birth defects crisis. In the late 50s and early 60s, more than 10,000 children in 46 countries were born with deformities such as phocomelia, which, let me double check. Phocomelia is a congenital disorder, involves malformation of human arms and legs, which result in flipper-like appendages. There you go. Consequences of thalidomide use. The severity and location of the deformities depended on how many days into the pregnancy the mother was before seeking treatment, with the time-sensitive window occurring approximately between day 20 and day 36 post-fertilization. Thalidomide taken on the 20th day of pregnancy caused central brain damage. Day 22, the ears and face. Day 24, the arms and leg damage would occur if taken up to day 28. It is not known exactly how many worldwide victims of the drug there have been, although estimates range from 10,000 to 20,000 despite the side effects. Thalidomide was sold in pharmacies in Canada until 1962. Is a Suika game coming out based on dogs? I'm joking about taking notes from Psy. I take notes from Psy in terms of like shorts and stuff.
Come on.
I'm just not that good. Funky!
Carnival. And please,
How was your stream, boss man?
the show.
How was Warframe? What are you doing with Warframe? Was today a special day for Warframe? Welcome in, Raiders. I remember you saying yesterday that you had to start a stream like 12 hours when the stream ended. I just didn't know what it was going to be. New update? Ooh. What's the new update? What's the new update? Is there a new frame or anything? There's got to be a new frame. Everybody jumps on Warframe when there's a new frame. New update, game servers broken. Carrie, how surprised are we that the game servers are broken on update day for Warframe? Welcome in, Raiders! Those of you who don't know me, my name is Mara and I'm ringleader of the Dark Carnival. I usually play games that are dark, spooky, and terrifying, except a couple days ago when I cried like a little bitch because routine scared the piss out of me. Never surprised. Never surprised. Hi, Kisa. How are you doing? Hi, Ed. Welcome in, Raiders. Welcome in. You may take enough more notes, more hashtags, more everything. Thing is, I don't fully understand hashtags. I don't know hashtags enough either to always know which hashtags I need to put in. Because sometimes I hear, like, you can't put too many of them. You can't put too little. You got to put just the right ones. You got to figure out which ones are trending, which ones are useful, which ones are useless. That's what the fan page is for. Hell yeah. Got to pay $100 for it. Give more routine. Yeah, the game scared the piss out of me. I also found out what is expected in the future of the game, and I am terrified. Want to play the new mode, but servers are on fire. Hope you're doing good. I'm doing all right. I before stream today for the first time in a while. I got sesame chicken. I'm in a good goddamn mood. I did try to bribe you with Dispatch to play that instead that night, but we were basically out of time by the end of the day. We'll probably still do more Dispatch in the future because it's so fun. And we did like a no romance playthrough on our first one, so maybe this time we'll romance like Blonde Blazer. Do I need to adjust how I do the fan page tags? I have not looked at the tags that you use. I could. I've just been letting you run it. I've just been letting you have fun with it. Do whatever you feel is right. I could give more direction if we need to. Would you prefer my direction, or do you want to just keep swinging it? Poly romance playthrough, is that an option? Can you romance both of them? Protein of the gods? Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. I love sesame chicken. I've loved sesame chicken since I was a kid. To the point where when my family asked me when I was, granted, growing up, I grew up in a small rural town in Texas. We didn't have a single Asian place in town. And the nearest Asian place was a 40-minute drive from my town. So the only time I got to have Asian food was when it was a very special occasion, like my birthday. My birthday was basically the only time that I could essentially guarantee that I would be able to get Asian food. I do just say Asian because I live in fucking Texas. I lived in Texas at that time too. And there's nothing that's really, at this time, there wasn't any like specialty places. There wasn't like, oh, this is a Japanese place, or oh, this is a full-on Chinese place, or a Korean place or anything. We only just got our first Korean place this past like 3 months. We finally got a Korean barbecue place. Texas trained. I'm hard to break, baby. Ludicrously white area. I did too. We had, in my entire town, you could count the number of black people in the town on 2 hands. 2 hands. was lucky if Asians lived in her town. It wasn't until high school. High school, we did get, actually, they didn't live in town. A donut shop opened in town. And I've mentioned this story before. The donuts were so fucking cheap that our school was inundated with donuts. When that place opened, for the first several months they were open, they sold donuts. A dozen glazed donuts was $1.25. $1.25 for a dozen glazed donuts. Every single teacher was bringing in like 3 or 4 dozen donuts a day. The donut shop was owned and run by a Laotian family. Them, their kids, and all that ran the place. But they didn't live in town. They lived like 20 minutes out of town. And those were the only Asian people that I ever saw in that town until I moved out. I went to college and all that. And at some point, an Asian restaurant opened up like across the street from that donut place. And I found out like 2 years ago, a year and a half-ish, that it got shut down. I think it was, I'm trying to remember what it was. Something illegal. It wasn't like food cleanliness or anything. It was something else. But I can't remember what it was now. It had something to do with money. Money laundering, maybe? I don't remember for sure. God damn it. I was thinking of that one King of the Hill scene. Well, I forgot what Hank like calls him. He ain't Chinese. It looks him up and down. You're Laotian, ain't you? Embezzlement? No, it wouldn't be embezzlement. Embezzlement is usually for like, I want to say it was money laundering. Yeah, it's cotton. I was gonna say, no, Hank calls him something else. No, it's not Hank. Is it Dale? Is Dale the one that calls him something else? And then Cotton's the one who's like, he's not Chinese. Looks him up and down. You Laotian, ain't you, Mr. Khan? Dale oh, it's Japanese. Okay. I think the funny thing too, Cotton is a very interesting character in King of the Hill. In the case of like, his backstory is what? He was in the Korean War, right? He like lost his shins in the Korean War. Okay, it was World War II. That's what I was thinking. It was World War II, but then I was like, I don't think that time like lines up. Because I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure he talks about killing like Japanese people in the war, and I'm like, but wait, is he that old? Oh yeah, he's racist, but he's accurate. So we can correctly and accurately be racist. Yeah, listen, if you're gonna hate, you gotta hate properly, okay? Don't be finicky on the details. He fudges details. Oh, for sure. Like a grown older man who went to war and came back does. You get to make up whatever you want about the war. Who's gonna check you? None of your platoon guys are here near you. They're not gonna check it. It's not like you're telling the higher ups the shit that you did. Fit him in. Almost spat in the Emperor's face. I mean, if I remember correctly, technically the war wasn't the Emperor's fault. He basically became a puppet for World War II from the military. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong on that. I was gonna say, wasn't he essentially overtaken by like his military councils and was essentially just forced into it? Like he already knew that like they wouldn't be able to win a war against the United States. Yeah. I've been watching some videos recently on like post-war Japan, and it is funky. It is crazy shit. But I'm trying to remember some of the... Chat, did you ever know about the suicide torpedoes? Do you know about the suicide torpedoes that the Japanese used? Not only were they obsessed with having their own pilots crash their planes into things, aka the kamikaze pilots, they also had suicide torpedoes. For whatever reason, Japan had this obsession with suicidal tactics as some form of, honestly, I can't say exactly, but the weird way I picture when I was listening to all these different kinds, the fact that like kamikaze is what? Divine wind, right? Is kind of a close to direct translation. But one of the things that I was thinking is like, is it maybe a sort of like human ritualistic kind of thing? Thinking that like having your soldiers and your people commit like the ultimate sacrifice, and that's basically what it is. A sacrifice would be like blessed by the gods. Essentially, the idea, like if you were hyper religious in this case, being like, if these men are willing to sacrifice themselves, then the country that has deserved such devotion will obviously be blessed by whatever higher beings are willing to offer themselves up for it. And it's like, yeah, that's just ritualistic sacrifice by any other terms. Which I still think is very goofy. It's more dying for the honor of the empire. It is, but again, it's the idea that like committing that ultimate honor, that ultimate sacrifice is essentially a sacrifice to whatever deities you believe in, or in this case, the emperor or whatever ultimate honor you see at the top, thinking that this sacrifice would bless the country as a whole. Oh, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Prey, is I'm thinking that the, what is it? Basically the idea that was the tactic was because of these sort of ritualistic, possibly like background thoughts from a young age, not to mention that when you were issued a rifle, it has the Emperor's seal was on it, reminding you that it belonged to the Emperor. Yeah. They'll be tearing up over the 5th anniversary Cyberpunk trailer. Wait, what was in it? I don't think we haven't seen the trailer. Do we need to watch the trailer? Is that what we need to do? Should you see it just as a sign of desperation? Japanese man running out of experienced pilots? Well, yeah, but that's because their tactic was self-sacrificing. The last days of the Euro Theater, the thing was, it was their primary tactics. Japan, those were their primary tactics. Wasn't there also a death before dishonor aspect? I know a lot of Asian cultures are very geared to the collective over. Death before dishonor is also like kind of a chivalristic tactic. Like it's not just from like Asian countries that see a lot of honor. It happened in the Middle East. It happened in Europe. It's all over those kind of places that have some sort of chivalristic ideologies. That's not that surprising. What if ritual suicide, but each one tries to kill the enemy? You're fucking genius. It's not exactly what it is, but it feels like that's kind of the undertones. Like, I don't think anybody, I would have to know. I wouldn't know. They'd only be in Japanese. I'd have to see like translations or something, but that's what it kind of feels like anthropologically. It feels like a weird ideation of like human sacrifice to bless the country as a whole. Was that a land invasion? Would have been costly. There were families given pikes to potentially charged invaders. Yeah, that's one of the reasons too that the bombs were dropped, was because, not even joking, there would have been more human loss with a land invasion than dropping the bombs did. Blood of martyrs and all that. Also that. Yep. What the hell? Okay. They did see it as dishonorable to lose a fight and not dying. Yes, I mean, like, you see some of that in the... What's the most recent movie I think that depicts it? Weirdly enough, Godzilla what is it? -1, or is it Godzilla 0? -1, right? I'm pretty sure it's -1. God, that movie was good. I got to see that in theaters. It was so good. You mean the nuke strike or different bombs? The nukes. I mean, the US dropped tons of bombs on Japan. Do we even want to talk about the bat bombs? Okay, how many people know about the bat bombs? I need to know. Large portion of the populace that didn't want the war, but in the lead up to it, the Warhawk parties did a whole shit ton of murdering and got off scotch-free. Pretty close. That's also not to mention Japan's land invasion of like almost all of East Asia. Oh yeah, we firebombed Tokyo. So the firebombs, aka the bat bomb, were literally bats, like frozen until they fell asleep, strapped with incendiary bombs, And bats go to roost in eaves, where much of Japan at the time was covered in wooden eaves that bats would fly into. And in the day, those incendiary devices would explode and burn everything to the ground. And about the balloon firebombs, there's also those, yeah. Bat bombs, they were kind of like an experimental sort of thing that were like very, oh, what's the word? Well, obviously experimental. I did say experimental, but almost a one-time use. Almost. Give me just a second, chat. I'm working on getting the game up for you because ad breaks either already started since I looked away or about to start. We're gonna do the pairs today. Okay, ad break did start. Yoink, yoink, yoinkity sploink. And then we're gonna swing right on over. Screen time. I am gonna have to move myself. Hi, chat. Hello, how are you doing? And then let's get y'all the game. A living Molotov of sorts? Pretty much. It was basically using the instincts of the bats to maximize the amount of damage in a country that was primarily constructed out of wood. Protagonists at the time that convinced the soldiers and citizens that death was preferable to what their invaders had planned? Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. I mean, it's been known worldwide, the practices of the United States across its entire history, even at that time. So I would not doubt for a goddamn second that they probably told, like, their own citizens the history of what the United States did to, like, Native Americans or anything like that. And then just said, that's what they're going to do to you. Or, like, any other massacre committed at the time on United States soil. They'd pull some shit that's like, they did this to their own workers. What do you think they're going to do to you? Or what we did in the Philippines? Also, wait. Was the Philippines after? I thought the Philippines was after World War II. I thought the Philippines was taken over by Japan and then the United States, quote unquote, liberated it and then took over. Pulled the under new management shit. Or am I? It was the Spanish War. Yeah, I'm misremembering. I'm misremembering. Okay. Is before stream does? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Is it? Is it? Do you think it's going to end? Are you willing to risk it? Sorry for the sniffles. Huh. All right. We'll do another round. Why not? Even if there's only 15 seconds. I got time for yapping today because I don't know how long brush burial is. So I'm totally fine for like yapping for 2 hours today and then getting into the game. Goodness. Welcome back from the ad break, y'all. 8 hours sleep the past 3 days? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. You never know. You never know. You may fuck it up. You've only had 8 hours of sleep the past. Oh, you mean 8 hours over the last 3 days? Okay, I got you. I got you. My brain at first was like, wait, you had 8 hours every night? That's the normal amount of sleep you're supposed to get. What do you mean? What's the concern? One big map, 3 small maps takes anywhere from 10 minutes of map to several sessions. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. The heck? And we were not kind? The US has never been kind. Not once in its goddamn history has it been kind. Give me an example if you can think of one. I'm struggling a little bit. Claim our own land. We claim someone else's lands. Yeah. What was the other thing? I mean, the United States is literally just living on claimed lands. And yet, every time you say shit like that, people are always like, oh, but yeah, you can't go say, yeah, we... They'll say the most heinous shit, too, if they try to, like, go against it. Have you ever seen the things that, like, certain, like, pundits and stuff will say? Whenever you pull some shit that's like, well, yeah, the entire country is conquered lands, and they'll say some heinous shit that's just like, well, yeah, it's conquered, therefore it's ours. They have no right to it. Did you just say that? A fuckery, constant fuckery. Shake my head at those people. The thing is, I keep seeing it more and more. Whenever I get like clips or some shit, because I usually get like stitched clips of like people reacting to it. But a lot of the podcast bros and stuff are really getting unhinged and kind of going full mask off on a lot of these things. I'm gonna have to click this and then I'm gonna have to move myself again. Yoink. All right, more iPad? No more iPad. Use bombs was not its own people? Also, yes. Also, yes. That's not to mention the number of times that they've dropped nukes on their own places, or the number of times they've bombed their own people. Shitty to natives, Americans, Irish, Germans, Scots, Slavs, Italians, every Asian country, the whole of the Middle East. Should I continue? You can keep going. Jewish people, any person. Did we cover any person? The whole of the Middle East. Okay, you did say that. What were some of the other discriminatory immigration laws? Quotas on basically any kind of non-white person that was not considered white prior to like 1945. Oh yeah, Catholics. You can't forget the hatred for Catholics. For some god-awful reason. For some heinous reason, which I've never understood. Mainly because I was raised Catholic. I'm not anymore, but I was raised Catholic. All the way through confirmation. Oh yes, any legitimate qua person. Oh. Wait, Twitch clips now have a like button? That's kind of cool. All the first settlers and founders were kind of Protestant? Yeah. Yeah. That's not that surprising. I mean, like the Spanish and the French were basically the Catholics in the neighborhood, north and south of us. But then other stuff was just kind of stupid. After it was revealed that the priest that baptized me, my sister was a child molester, was arrested and given life in prison. Damn! At least he got arrested and got life in prison, as opposed to just getting shuffled around like most of them do. It's the reaction that streams used to have, but now it's on clips. I wonder if that probably assists in like getting it noticed, right? Remember that, chat. If you go look at clips, if you go watch some of the clips that we have and you like them, it shows it to more people and we can get more people to come in and visit. Streamers can judge you for not liking their clips. So I wouldn't judge anybody on that. I mean, it's like, I don't really like a lot of things on TikTok. Mainly because I use both the likes and favorites on TikTok as like favorite folders. They're just two different favorite folders to me. Likes are ones that like, oh, I'd like to see this again because I think it's funny. He who, na 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 na. And my favorites are ones that's like, I'm going to come back to this one because it's going to be useful for something in the future. Introduce likes for Twitch clips. Now your streamer can judge you for not liking their clips. Na na na. Good thing they had the thought to leave. Evangelicals seem not to care. Do you want to know the perfect metaphor for a evangelical church or a mega church? is there's a picture that's been going around for a while of a pastor for a mega church walking to the altar while dragging a cross, you know, mimicking Jesus and all that. But it has a fucking wheel on it. That schmuck couldn't be bothered to struggle for 30 seconds. So they put a wheel on the cross to try and mimic their goddamn savior. From the rep rally? Was that the rep rally? I could have swore it looked like it was in a mega church. The funny thing too is Christmas is here. So there's tons of people that are posting like, mega church, by the way, wouldn't give baby formula to a lady, by the way. And then it's like these massive, elaborate, like full-on musicals with like suspended dancers and musicians and stuff flying all around in the air. Footage from that old lost media episode of To Tell the Truth. I did not. Could have a better time if he had a wheel, or the fact that he had to walk. What was it? He had to walk a long distance, didn't he? Was it the Charlie Kirk Memorial? Christ. Those guys in the Philippines, I think, who literally, yeah, there's people I saw a comic recently that made me laugh my ass off that was basically talking about that, but I think it was the Centauri comic where she was like, the Spanish like left for a little while. We're like, let me go check on my people back in the Philippines. And they like pull up and they're nailing people to crosses. And they're like, oh my God. Oh yeah, Lakewood is Joe Olstein's church. But I wouldn't go to a non-Catholic and proud Catholic at the end of the day. Sorry for getting, no, you're fine. Listen, I totally understand sticking to your religious convictions. I am not religious anymore. I have not been religious in a long time. And seeing the stuff that like religion has become and what I like tried to understand about religion as a kid. And I know Muslims say this all the time and some other people do. They'll be like, it's not just a religion, it's a way of life. And that's the way I always thought religion was supposed to work. It's a pathway of like governing your life in a way that you're supposed to act and pertain, and a number of steps you're supposed to do. But at the same time, in my entire life, I've seen nothing but people whittle down these beliefs and these steps of what they should do from their own religion down into fucking nothing. Like we could talk about like, let's talk like Catholic not feasting, not famine. What's the word? Fasting. We can talk like Christian fasting. The earliest Christian fasting, similar to like Ramadan, which like Ramadan is probably what I would say at this point is kind of like one of the earliest ones, or what is the Jewish equivalent of Ramadan? What's that one fasting season? It's not Passover, is it? I don't think it's Passover. I don't know nearly enough about Judaism to remember all of their holidays. Introduced to a show called Naked Attraction where everyone's nude and they have to sludge them and get in a race afterwards. It's wild and censored. What the fuck? That's random. A sin of empathy, am I right? God. Yom Kippur? I don't think Yom Kippur is a fasting holiday. Regardless, like those two religions still have their like long held like fasting holidays where you fast for a certain amount of time under certain conditions, then you eat. So like in Ramadan, you can't eat while the sun's up, basically. Yom Kippur is the day of fasting? Okay, I didn't know that. What's the one where they can't use technology for like a while? Oh, I don't remember what that one is. Because I think that one usually also leads to like fasting. Lent? That's what I was gonna say. Lent is essentially the like Christian version where you would typically like fast, you like wouldn't eat meats and all that jazz, blah, 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 blah. Over time, they've narrowed it down to like, oh no, never mind, you can eat fish. Fish doesn't count as meat for this religious season. Oh, by the way, you only have to do it on Fridays. You only have to not eat meat on Fridays. And you wouldn't eat meat on Fridays, got limited to Fridays in Lent. Yeah. The thing is though, is I've seen so many different like Protestant churches that do the same thing. But even then, the people that do these things, like giving up things that are technically supposed to be like important to you, or things that like you wouldn't typically want to live without as a form of self-sacrifice. People do like the laziest things. They'll be like, I'm not going to eat fried chicken, or something like I'm not going to drink red wine. Something hyper specific that is no real sacrifice. I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way that when you like water down these systems that like you seemingly want to accept as a way of life, and a way that is in turn supposed to limit you as a way of like piety, and then just turn it into nothing and go around prancing and being the worst people imaginable. That's like, okay, how many people have worked food service? I need ones in chat if you've worked food service. Somebody shoot Lucian in the face. Never even religious is the church sticking its nose in economics? I would not doubt it. Latin Mass and pre-Vatican too? No, I'm not saying anything like that. Hi, Bucky. So if you've worked food service and you've worked on Sundays, you see where I'm going with this? Do you see where I'm going with this, chat? How many of you have worked on Sundays at the lunch rush? Wait, why did it block just a parentheses? Why did Automod block just a parentheses? Strange. Chick-fil-A? Chick-fil-A's closed on Sunday. Just wanted people to read? Yeah. In a movie theater for a single day, that's all my food experience? Damn. Automod on a stage 1? Oh my goodness. Uppies, no. Nope. But yeah, if you've never worked Sunday post like at the lunch rush, there are people that go to church, do all their praise stuff, talk about how good they are as people, all that nonsense, and then they leave and go to the fucking, I don't know, Arby's, Cracker Barrel, whatever shit those kinds of people do, and then they become the worst people imaginable. All right, guys, we're taking the family to go to the local home cooking place. There's gonna be 16 of us. No, we didn't make a reservation, and you better seat us within 20 minutes. We're also not gonna tip, and we're gonna be the most insufferable people in the restaurant. Oh, and the kids are gonna be running around because we really don't want to have to like babysit them and like force them to sit in their seat, and then they get fussy. It was smart detection, was it? It said Automod on my end. I'm having flashbacks. Listen, I worked food service on Sundays. It is a hell of its own design. A hell of its own design that no one can compare to. I refuse to work on Sundays, made that clear to my manager. I started doing that with like a lot of jobs I have because I liked having Sunday and Wednesday off. Because originally my days that I would stream was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Those were my favorite streaming day setups. Well, then we also streamed on Saturday those days, but now we don't really stream on the weekend, which really sucks. Because that's when most of my friends stream. There are also assholes that crowd like coffee shops and start climbing on tables and blasting. Oh my God. Don't even get me started on the people that do the praise stuff in public. Oh yeah, the performative faith. Where there's some dude holding a camera for them or their phone, and the dude breaks out like a JBL speaker and stands up on a glass table and just blares the most annoying like faith rock across the store, and then just starts being like, basically doing like an altar call type shit, where they're just like, who here has accepted Jesus? That's the kind of shit. That's why I like to learn about different religions. And I think why I honestly, at some point, if somebody ever asked like that type of shit, I'm not even joking. This was last week, literally last week. I came home from the gym and there were what I could only guess were Jehovah's Witnesses walking like in front of the house. And you want to know what I did? I got out of my car. I scampered in the side door. And they came and rang the doorbell, and then I never answered it. I was like, fuck that. Absolutely not. There's so many Bible verses that are against performative faith. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think they care? No. They've never cared. In public, someone yells at you to say Jesus is Lord? No. Do you know what I would say? For shits and giggles, you always have to think like in a split second, what's the thing that's gonna annoy this person the most? And it's not telling you don't believe in Jesus. It's Allahu Akbar. That's what you say. That's what you say. Allahu Akbar. Can we like interesting when I had Lord and Savior Hugh Neutron, not Jimmy's dad. God damn it, Ganon. Him and his ducks, man. Him and his ducks. Decide everyone needs to hear their music / phone calls, add proselytizing to mix, and just boils my blood. I agree. Jesus wants a hug. God, Christ the Redeemer. From Helsing Abridged. You need to accept Godzilla into your life? Yes. Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum? Is that the right spelling? That doesn't feel like the right spelling. New breakfast cereal? Get it now? Oh my God. Someone from Baptist Church tried to knock on my door early in the morning, like at maybe 8:30 in the morning, wanting to give them a damn donation. How about you fuck off? The only soliciting donations I will ever pay is for firefighters. And that's at like stoplights when they do their like yearly fundraising stuff. Nobody else. Like, who's this for? Oh, for the police station? Never mind. I just looked out for 5 seconds and pulled a Friday and just closed the door. If you see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Friday. Oh, I don't know. My brain is thinking Freaky Friday for some reason. Firefighters and EMS? Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Why does Twitch keep recommending random people to you? That's how recommendations work. They're not like random. There's usually some sort of like overlap with the people that you watch ordain. The people that they recommend are always like ones that they're like, oh, you watch these people. Well, these people are kind of similar, or at least according to their algorithm. I need to show you a video sometimes where like some Christian influencer types are recording themselves yelling to the sky, calling God dad, like, ugh. I think another thing I hate seeing are the types that are like Christian influencers, where they do the like, they show videos like, we're at the Bible study, the youth Bible study right now. It's always weird too, hearing like, whenever you hear churchgoers be like, this is the youth group. And you look at it and like, yeah, sure, there's like kids there. But like the quote unquote youth group is like, there's people that are in their fucking 20s there. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You're not supposed to be in the youth group. You're a grown ass adult. Go to the adult Bible studies, chuckle fucks. Maybe late teens. Yeah. Like late teens are kind of fine. Like 18, I feel like should be like the top ump. Recommending streamer thing, it's all big streamers. It usually is. Yeah. Twitch, shut up and choose who is watch. Wait, who is watch? Not them. I don't care what that algo says. Yeah. Like their 20s, maybe late teens to do that. I was working when we were playing a Christian movie. Lady came up to me and told me she enjoyed it and found it beautiful. Generally told her I was happy she connected with it. She asked if I was Catholic. I told her my family's Orthodox. She responded, oh, you might want to convert. Catholics are going to be the only ones who survive what's coming. Okay. I guess. What do you want? Were you asking me? When I get forced to go to youth group, I'd hide at the edge of the preacher's peripheral vision until the Jesus part was done. Yeah. Is upon us? Oh my God. The thing is almost like most denominations really do think that they're like the chosen ones, which is fucking crazy. Because I know there's some denominations out there and like evangelicals like honestly think that like Catholics are fucking demons, which is crazy. Me not want, no once divine uppies. I'm convinced evangelicals don't like Catholics because they don't want people to think that there's a centralized power in their religion, like there is with the like the Catholic Church in the case of the Vatican. Because the super pastors basically want to be that quote divine influence on their people. It's an eternal cult. Yes, it is. Heaven is basically, if in the book it is, and to some people they actually want this, and they say like they want this, is basically you go up there and you worship God forever. You happily worship God forever. That's basically it. That is basically where the description ends. I weirdly enough, I've seen some denomination that instead describes heaven as like you go up there and get like a heavenly mansion, which is so stupid. That is so on the nose, just like, don't worry about getting rich now, guys, because you're going to be rich in heaven. So you should give us all your money. I take hell as an alternative. With the number of people that would burn in hell based on this religion, honestly, it has air conditioning by now. It has air conditioning by now. Evangelicals don't like Catholics because they don't think they're even American? Oh. When can I stop? Never. Never. Beef some people have between Catholicism and Orthodoxy, reliving the schism. It is very interesting in the past couple weeks, though, seeing Pope Leo and the, what is he called? The Grand Patriarch? Something, the Patriarch of the Orthodox Church, actually going to, like, it wasn't in Lebanon where they were together. It was it Lebanon? I don't think it was Lebanon. Was it Palestine? Either way, in the last couple of weeks, recently, they got together for an anniversary. And they basically did like a small service on location together. So it'd be very interesting if they attempted to like heal the schism in some way. Yeah, no, actually, all the cool people got their VIP tickets to hell. Let's go. Plays a Simpsons clip of Catholic heaven between Protestant heaven. Oh, I don't know that clip. Is it from the movie? No, I don't remember for sure. I mean, isn't there also... It's an American Dad episode, isn't there? Isn't there an American Dad episode that's basically like after the rapture? And that shit? With even like having the Antichrist? Plus in hell, I get to beat the shit out of the worst people in history eternally. Yeah, my grandma was a Catholic teacher since 2005. Now the church has tried to push her out. 20 years of faith? Wait, what? Why? I just remember overhearing some old folks at the restaurant start talking about the rapture was coming soon. I wanted to tell them it already came. They were left behind. You should have. You should have. That's the good shit, baby. That's the good shit. People freaked out about JFK being Catholic because they thought he would turn the US into a papal state. Oh, God, I do remember that. I do remember hearing about that being one of the things against JFK. Even the Orthodox Christians have divisions, mainly Greek and Russian. Yeah. Yep. All praise Overload? I think it's supposed to be Overlord. If you don't say you're praising them, we're jumping you? What? Yeah, Ganon's been here the last few streams. Like, I'm mad at the church specifically, or at least the people in charge, because they're trying to push my grandma out as a teacher. What the fuck? And now they're asking me to do it. Did you tell them to go fuck themselves? I'm glad I'm not a religious person, but I appreciate listening to Erin talk about it because she talks about all of it and it helps me stay informed in a lot of it. So thanks. Yeah, thanks, Beef. What a bunch of punks. Yeah. Eternal cold versus eternal revenge cage fights. Pretty obvious choice. Put up your goddamn Duke's voice. Save me, chat. Now it's trying to get me. Ganon, if I wanted to get you, you would be got. God, what's some of the other nonsense that's been going on recently? I mean, we did have like another fucking rapture date a few months ago. Who remembers that? That's probably what those people were talking about, Queens. No escape, correct. Little squeaked about some things, like some jobs require you to sign an oath of allegiance to the church. I've seen some places that are like that, where you have to like sign a like, yeah, it's basically oath of faith kind of thing. And I've seen things in not just like Catholic positions. I've seen it in like Mormon shit, Baptist stuff. And it's very weird. And depending on the state is technically illegal. Like you don't have to fill out that paperwork. And if you can prove that they didn't hire you because you didn't fill out that paperwork, that's a pretty open and shut case. That was weird. The tracking did not like me doing the little for Nikola Tesla. Oh. Yeah, the rapture is going to happen the 24th of December, 2031. Oh, good Lord. Good fucking Lord. What do you mean loot is real? I want a refund of my Golden Gate ticket. Are you talking about loot as in the fucking the exterminator angel? You fucking dork. I could 1% blame the church for keeping me afraid of non-prescription substances to an non-prescription substances like Advil? Impaler, DDR, and Edison? Good lord. DDT? 2 raptures in 1 year? I mean, they did say that it was like...
For the grace, for the might of the Lord, for the home of the holy, for the faith, for the way of the sword, give the light so boldly. For the grace, for the might of the Lord, in the name of his glory.
I forgot I have that song. And yes, that is purposely loud. That is purposely loud. My ears! It's also loud in my ears too. The Rapture slept in and missed it, had to reschedule. It's so funny that these people think that the rapture is going to happen. 1, it's not in the Bible. 2, it's made up science fiction by some, I think it was a Catholic priest. And 3, no one knows when like the revelations are essentially supposed to happen. And the thing is, chat, do you want to know something? Do you want to know something? Revelations already happened. Historically, revelations already happened. Do you know why? Yeah, it was a past tense book. They had to write things in fucking code, basically. Yeah, the talking shit about Nero and the fall of Rome. Like, I don't know what you want from me. Like, everything in the Bible already happened. There's not prophecies in there.
What you fear?
That's almost a year, Wrath, almost a year. Totally almost a year. Thank you for the 24 months sub, Wrath. Good. Did you just start a hype train? You rat bastard. You rat bastard. All right, chat. I guess we have a hype train now. You fucking dork. That's almost a year. Anyway. So we're already living in hell? Yes. Yes. Is reaffirming her faith in the amount of shit she gets outright wrong is frustrating? Good fucking lord, dude. Is she reading the Bible? Because usually when somebody's doing like the reaffirming faith thing, it usually means they're Christian of some kind. Wizlock, thank you for the 100 bits. Holy shit, dude. And you started a combo. Hi, Dandy. Oh, that was a censor. That did happen. Take her place as teacher. I shut that fuck down immediately. Like I said, I'd rather be in a pine box and push up daisies and take her place as a teacher. Yeah. 104 months, almost a year. We'll get there eventually. Who censors Maren tits? Oh, don't worry about that. Reading the Bible with... Oh, my God. Okay, that's another thing. I actually sent this... Oh, let me get... Actually, we're going to watch this video. Chat, do you want to see some loser shit really quick? Here, I'm going to need to open... Oh, whoops. I clicked the wrong thing. So there was a TikTok video that was basically like the first one I fucking saw this morning. And I sent it to Faye and Sai. Where is it? Oh, it didn't open in the right one. Shut up. All right, hold on a second, chat. Shut up. No, I do not want to like the post. And I did... Stop. Okay. Let's get the screen down here. Oh, I keep going back to the 2.0 model, the base 2.0 model, instead of this one when I want to move myself. It's my own fault. It is my own fault. All right, kids. Let's get this up. I do have to redo the capture because it is not the same thing anymore. Jesus, that is not a flattering pause. All right, hold on. I do need to change the audio settings too, because I do want this in the VOD. Please and thank you. All right, Skillet, calm your tits. All right, chats. Also, there's no volume thing here, so let me turn this up a bit and hope to God we don't blow our own ears out. All right, this is like 3 seconds, and then it's a stitch. So don't worry.
Alpha or double alpha can do that.
Fuck is the double alpha, my dude?
Once and for all, we are going to end the epidemic of dating and Vods and content that encourages thinking and speaking like chronically online fucking losers. You know what happens if you run around calling yourself an alpha or saying, I want an alpha?
There's a specific thing in here that I wanted to talk about because you mentioned like reaffirming thing and stuff for like the reaffirming your faith.
Just some weird
Bibles for women.
People into creepy Greek Harry Potter houses, some shit like
We'll
that.
get to it. I will explain it.
If you talk like this, other words that fall in this category: high value man or woman who may be thinking, "Oh, if I call myself."
Chat, do not call yourself a high value person. It's cringe.
That you're an escort or a human trafficker. That you're gonna rob them, or just that you're an arrogant fucking tryhard and a prick. Sexual marketplace value.
God, what the fuck is the sexual marketplace?
People will think you have sex with your groceries. There's a niche kink community that has sex with their groceries and uses this term. Some of you aren't aware of this. People don't know about that niche kink community. They will also think you're a sex trafficker who wants to steal their organs. That you're such
For every alpha in the military, they will fold in
You
seconds.
think of
Correct.
social interaction as a numbers game. Never fucking say this shit out loud. Also, never say feminine or masculine energy. You think, oh, that makes you sound feminine, masculine. No, it sounds like you want to pick other people's genders for them. That you're so bad at being whatever gender that you have to make sure you have energy for it. Because you don't know how to be a fucking person.
That's the thing I wanted to get to. The feminine or masculine energy type shit is so fucking cringy, my dude. The number of people that do that shit or like read books being like how to unlock your feminine energy and be the woman you were always meant to be fucking gets under my goddamn skin. Hi, noob, how are you doing? It's basically psychotic. It's basically psychotic. It's so cringy, dude. It's so cringy. The thing too is I've seen a video too, at least 1 or 2 videos in my lifetime where it's people that are like, his masculine energy really balances out my feminine energy for us to become the perfect couple. And I'm like, what the fuck do those two mean? Skinning the ringleader for feminine energy? Oh my god, give me the slay emotes. It's just the slay emotes. Sexual marketplace was invented by Murray Rothbard, the founder of anarcho-capitalism. He promised his adherents that a stateless capitalism would open up a children market to solve orphanages. Huh? Sexual marketplace that then results in children markets? What does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? I'm so confused. Why? Why are you like this? Again, I went to the wrong spot. Anyway. I don't like where that was going. I did not like where that was going. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. Turn the game volume down before we go to the game in just a bit. I'm so goddamn confused. Yeah. How the alt-right concept of an ideal woman isn't even a woman? I mean, are you meaning like they basically want a slave? Oh, yes. It's yes. I know what you're talking about now. The thing is though, is they want a mother. That's not even joking. If you read the conditions that like hyper conservative or quote unquote traditional men want, they don't want a wife. They want another mother that is basically how their mom was for them when they were like 4 years old. Clean their shit, clean their room for them, make them food, do the like inside house stuff, and make them feel strong and tough. I've got mommy issues, but that's fucking ridiculous. It's extremely ridiculous. Let's go back to what we were here for. Okay. Wait, what? Basically how Stan Smith is? Kind of, yeah. Kind of. Hold on. I still don't feel like I'm in the right spot. Whatever. Supposed to get rid of the outlines. I just realized those were still on. I want a co-minister to burn the world to ash with. Ooh. I mean, that's not the worst. That's a pretty good relationship goal. Oh goodness. We're already here for what we're here for. Bullying Marin? What do you mean? Y'all haven't bullied me today. I don't have to worry about this. I'm engaged. I'll do everything I can to make my fiance happy. I'll be a house himbo in a maid outfit for her. Whatever you say, Finboy Beef. Based? Yes. Positioning a common problem for you on stream? With this model, it is. It's a little bit finicky. I'm always bullying you in my mind. Listen, that's called commentary. Not here for jamming to the tunes. I know, that's crazy. Me and my awesome playlist. Couple go, we both put on the maid outfits and clean together. Listen, sometimes putting on a costume to do chores and stuff or things you don't want to do is the way to get them done. Psychologically, uniforms do a lot of work to get people to do the things that they need to do. Throw yourself on like a maid outfit or a butler outfit and you'll want to act like those things far more. Put on a firefighter outfit and you're going to hose down the neighbor's house. It'll be funny. Do it. If it's what she wants, oh no. What the hell? Why did I just get, hold on, why did I get a ping on my phone? What happened? Oh, it's somebody commenting on the TikTok from earlier. Why did my phone light up for that? Somebody responded to the turning your nuts inside out. And they just said, I think I'm in love. Dang it. Crazy. Comment on Marin's TikToks. Yeah, go to the TikTok. Comment on all the things. The more comments we get and the more likes we get, the more it goes into the algorithm, kids. Don't you fucking forget it. I still extra fevers. Even flow. Sorry, I got triggered. I got triggered like a sleeper agent. I've missed out on the fact that Even Flow was playing until I heard the chorus. There's only one way to sing Even Flow, and it's like you're singing Creed for some reason. Even Flow. But bleh, TikTok, I agree. TikTok has gotten so stupid with its algorithms recently, it literally could not tell the difference between one side of an argument and the other. I watch a lot of videos that are basically just like, what's his name? Chris Valenti and Proletariat Repair. Hilarious. Great guys. But the TikTok algorithm can't tell the difference of somebody taking the piss out of Charlie Kirk and somebody posting that they love Charlie Kirk and that he's their hero. It can't tell the difference. I got 2 videos this morning of like the people trying to sound like super cool and tough in their trucks, just being like, rest well, brother, we got it from here, and that kind of type shit. So concerted during the course to Even Flow. Oh my god. I wish I had that set up. I think I would have to set up like the grid programs and stuff for it, and that's a pain in the ass to do on stream. Yeah, I can get a T-pose toggle for later. Just T-pose on people. Who's seen the videos that's like, you have sleep paralysis, but your sleep paralysis demon is whatever his name is, the lead singer of this band? And it's just somebody standing in the doorway singing this song. Pearl Jam, that's it. Even Flow. I'm sorry. Was a serious fucker. 100% shit stick. 100%. You got TikTok on your phone? Also, chat, when was the last time y'all heard anybody ask anything about Snapchat? I gotta ask. I gotta ask. I've heard apparently there are some fucking schmucks that still use Snapchat. And the number of times I see videos of people getting like creeped on by some person who's like, "Do you got Snapchat? Do you got Snapchat? I have Snapchat. You should follow me on Snapchat." That is like, that's a black flag. That person is either looking to stalk you, kidnap you, or kill you. That's it. That's it. About Snapchat, when I heard the Burnt Peanut won the VTuber of the Year awards, that was literally last week. I can't believe how butthurt people are about Peanut winning, by the way. We talked about this before. Also, sorry, I'm adjusting myself and apparently me sitting up more straight put me up a little bit too high. Black flag, sea shanties, go. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Wait, I got one. I got one. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Wait, they got rid of El Jihad? No! No, my baby. Wait, they deleted the artist completely off of Spotify? That's crazy. I wanted mine to sheets. Anyway, where did that song go? There it is. Spotify skill issue? They deleted the entire artist. I was like, okay, well, maybe they just like deleted the post and he's like reposted it or something. No, they got rid of the whole nasheeds. It was really cool too. What artist? He still shows up in my playlist. He's just like grayed out. El Jihad by Abu Abdul Malik.
What's your pleasure?
Malik?
What's your
Malik.
fear?
I think it's Malik. From the album, well, it's marked as Bakia al-Majid, but it's technically a nasheed, so it doesn't really have like usually an album because it's usually like sung poetry. He must have said something. I don't think he did. I mean, maybe it's not like his music to post or something. Call the shadow. Anyway. Can you start buying music and storing on MP3 players again? Let me go get my USB MP3 player that I had as a kid. Some other cases, it's a rights issue. Well, it's a nasheed. There's no copyright on those kinds of songs, quote unquote songs. Get emotional because of the song I picked because the song was so good. Ooh. Also, that's what I'm saying. We need the Malin pods. Malin pods. Malin pods. What do you mean? I use an old phone. Oh, do you mean like an iPod, but it's Malin pod? Quick, someone sing Weatherman? Ooh. Malvincon everyday earbuds. Christ. Not the Raycon comparison. Again, sorry for the sniffles. I keep forgetting to kind of reach over and mute when I get the sudden sniffles. Checking y'all's lurk? All right, chat. It's time for a lurk check. How are you doing? What trouble are you getting into? Are you hiding from me? Do we need to talk? Chat. Do we need to... I'm trying, okay? I'm trying. Hi, chat. Are you paying attention to me? I demand attention. You will give me the attention I deserve. Give me. Give me. I'm overstimulated. I'm sorry. Listen, it's mine. It's mine. Hi, Murdoch. Hiding from Merit? Nah, she just isn't showing up enough. What do you mean? Ah. This model looks weirdly goofy up close. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Especially the nose. I don't know why the nose feels kind of goofy to me. How are you doing, chat? All right. Also, this is a song that I have in another playlist that Sunstar has outed me for having at one point, and it's Sing Practice. This song's part of my Sing Practice playlist. You rat bastard, you fucking outed me before I made it private. Sunstar fucking caught me apparently and then like revealed it on stream and I was like, you rat bastard, you're not supposed to tell everybody. even though I've done no real practice on it. Oh, thank you, Otaku. Crashes into the chat. I've been researching unusual ideologies and found the one I've never heard of. Just NIW? Just now? I'm guessing that's supposed to be now. Also, hold on. Here's one that I added for shits and giggles apparently 2 weeks ago. What's not to love about Proud Mary? Song Dreaming of You? No? Who made it? Who's the band? In it asleep and anyway, cyber nihilism? Huh. That's actually one thing. I've recently come across a TikTok channel that basically talks about hate groups or like terrorist cells or like dog whistles and stuff. And I watched one of his last night that was on a nihilist group. I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's some group that essentially in all of their art, like, or not art, but all of their really shitty photoshops replaces, puts Labubus in it. And the Labubus are essentially a like cover or bait and switch or whatever you want to call it for Jewish people. So like all of their pictures and stuff is like some weird glass-faced motherfucker with like a Labubu photoshopped into like usually prisoners. And I'm trying to remember the name of them, but now I can't remember it. A lesson that grade school capitalism doesn't exist in reality. Well, no, they're anti-humanist. This particular group was anti-humanist and nihilist. So their whole thing is basically just killing as many people as they can is like their eventual goal. I see them make an announcement and Peter Griffin and tour page comes to mind. Oh, I got you. I got you. Attention Kmart customers. Testicles. That is all. Anyway. Announcement of Peter Griffin. It's flashed a relevant clip. You don't even have to flash to it. There's a new one for you. Listen, I don't know. They probably would at some point. People who with you don't have to worry. Okay. Sun Dreaming of You was late artist Selena Quintanilla, who passed away in 1995, March 31st, by murder due to her bank club president stealing money? What? Huh? I'm so confused. What? So the bank club president stole her money? Is that what you're saying, Jerry? That's crazy. What do you mean it's not fair? You're fucking nihilist? True. And because they're an anti-humanist group, they basically just want the eradication of the human race. Because they decided that apparently everything just doesn't matter. So why not just wipe out the human race? Because that makes sense, I guess, in their worldview. Oh, I was going to say, that sounds like Selena. That did not click for a second. I told you I lived in Corpus Christi for multiple years, right? Corpus Christi has a statue to Selena. I've been to that statue a lot because I like spending time on the waterfront there. Yeah, for some reason, the last name did not stick with me until I just reread it with Selena. The mischief that is had. All right, that's our next clip for tomorrow. Hang your hat and hate at the door. Anyway. Is actually up for parole this year? How about no? How about no? Her killer was her best friend, by the way. In case y'all didn't know that. Selena's killer was her best friend. They basically took all her money, and then when she confronted them, they killed her. was effectively the slow like method that I remember hearing about that. Also, do not go to Corpus Christi and say bad things about Selena. You will be shot too. I love this song, dude. I love this song. It would take a lot of lessons though to be able to sing this song at like full volume, especially because I am not a like yeller, perhaps. I would need a lot of practice. I do not scream or yell that often. So my voice, goodness, sorry, I hiccuped a little bit. Not a screamer. My voice tends to like crack when I get too loud. So that's the thing that happens pretty frequently. Honestly, I said she's safer than she'd be out here. Also true. In some prisons, that's how bad it is. I would not doubt if she's been moved around. People were big fans of Selena. I just don't think I'm going to Corpus Christi at all. Corpus Christi's not a bad city. It's a pretty decent place. Beautiful oceans in certain parts. If you go to Laguna Madre, it's literally like 3 feet deep. You get to see dolphins. There's beautiful grass, seagrass fields there. Very cool place. Very cool place. In the United States. It's honestly one of the best places in the United States if you like beaches and just like ocean stuff. Or you can just go further south and it'll get better as you go further south. I only want to go to Corpus Christi to hang out with a friend. Outside of that, there's very few reasons for me to go to Texas. Yeah. Yeah. Dolphins. Yeah, dolphins. Dolphins. Stay away from Galveston. Galveston is a beast in and of itself. All right, hold on a second, chat. We need to go back to the other playlist. Here, we'll just click through a bunch of stuff. That'll work. There we go. Since I've made it to the stream, has it, Jackson? Well, thank you for swinging in. How are you doing? Things I could say, but I want to be good. Say them. Say them, coward. Galveston is meh. Galveston is very meh. Galveston has been meh since basically the hurricane wiped it off the map for like a couple years. I think of the one video where two gangbangers are arguing, but they're from the softest sounding city names ever. I think it was Gary, Indiana and Corpus Christi. Is the man going to tell him about Gary, Indiana? Onion, please tell me you know about Gary, Indiana. You know, Gary, Indiana, birthplace of Michael Jackson. You know, Gary, Indiana, voted worst city in the United States. You know, Gary, Indiana, one of the largest industrial hubs prior to World War II that eventually fell into fucking nothing. Just stay away from the Houston Ship Channel. It's polluted as fuck. That makes sense. I may get emotional when I told her to play Dreaming of You. She kind of slowly broke down in tears. Aww. Oh, that you were saying so you got her to play a Selena song. People talk shit about Detroit, but nobody talks about Gary. That's because Gary isn't like a place that was essentially birthed into what it had. Gary was a city basically outside of Chicago, not far from Chicago, that was supposed to be and it was at one point the biggest industrial hub in the United States. And it was supposed to be the next big thing. It was supposed to be great. It was supposed to be everything that the American economy could ever want in manufacturing. And then that all changed with outsourcing. Gary basically died in a single decade. Several decades of building up, becoming a powerhouse in the Midwest, only for a single decade to completely wipe out all prospects due to outsourcing. I grew up on the streets of Gary doesn't sound as hard. I mean, if somebody tells me they grew up on the streets of Gary today and they're not like 60, I'd be like, okay, that may be a little terrifying. But if somebody said I grew up on the streets of Gary in like, if they're over 60, my brain's going to be like, oh, so this guy's dad is like a steel worker. He's got calluses thicker than my pinky finger and could probably punch through rebar. Like how Yonkers, New York was a big deal. Yes. Hard to build, easy to lose, basically everything ever. Yeah, in the United States. Welcome to the world. whenever we decided that we were instead of chasing local jobs, we were just going to chase line go up. So the best way to do that is to send it to places where it's cheaper for manufacturing as well as wages in order to kick out all the American people out of the market. Manufacturing's never coming back to the United States as it is today. It would take decades for the United States to get all of its manufacturing back to the way it was, and it'll never catch up to China. It will never catch up to China. The global economy will run out of essentially market cap on manufacturing before America could ever catch up. Unless you want to live under a world of redundancies, there's no reason to try and catch up to China in manufacturing. It's logically irresponsible. Also, we're about to have the screen time. And I do got to run to the bathroom. Okay, I was hitting the right button. I was afraid I was hitting the wrong one. I was actually spinning myself for a second. Wow, that ad actually started exactly when it was supposed to. All right, chat, hold on a quick second. I need to run to the bathroom, so I'm just going to go slump here, and y'all can make fun of me all you want because it is mildly hilarious. And I will see you in just a minute. What did y'all do? What happens? Is Sun start carrying again? Sorry about that, chat. I went to the bathroom and I decided I was going to go nibble on a couple more bites of my sesame chicken. I ate until I was full before stream, but there's still some left. So I took a few more bites during the commercial break. All right. This round's basically over. I went zesty chicken. I love sesame chicken. It's so good. It's so good. Oh my God, it was all Sunstar. Chat, how could you? Chat. Sunstar's still going hard. You're trying your best, aren't you, Sunstar? I have some pizza rolls a minute ago, so I made it. You made it homemade. Wait, you made what? Oh goodness, you've made sesame chicken homemade? I've done the same thing too, but it's not just quite the same when a Chinese grandma's yelling at you. Oh my goodness, apparently I ate those bites too fast. Jesus. All right, kids. Gotta do what I gotta do to get through the rounds. Yeah, you don't want to be skinned again, I'm guessing. Right, Sunstar. No one wants to be skinned again, right? Good to know. I'm proud of you for finishing that round, buddy. You did good. All right, chat. Do we want to jump into this game? No skinning the Sunstar? Okay. Okay. For now. For now. He did good. They did good. They did fantastic. I did. I just drank some water. More water. Can I have a little skinning as the treat? Sure. I'll go get the potato peeler. Is that a Mudkip emotes? What is up with my thing not loading emotes properly the first time I click on it? That is so cute. That is so cute. Carry On is a good song. Carry On. Which Carry On? I'm thinking of Carry On My Wayward Son. Why the potato peeler? Because that's the way we're going to do it this time. This one's not always the pyramid head method. We don't always just tear it off in one pull. Where's the fun in that? Huh? Where's the fun in that? Anyway. All right, chat. Do we jump into the game? Oh my God, that's fucking Crimmy. I keep seeing like people's clips of Crimmy. She's so goddamn unhinged, dude. The one pull method? Ah, yes. The one pull method. Now we yap and tooth. Oh, Jesus, I just realized I had the music still loud. The game we're going to be playing, the plan is Bush Burial, which is a sort of boomer assassin-esque game. Let me see here. Let me see. If I go to the store page, what category does it say this is in? Assassin, immersive sim, martial arts, crime, gothic. Where we play like a demon scorpion assassin lady. It seems pretty cool. Assassin with lady with scorpion tail, you saying? Wait, what were you trying to clip? Were you trying to clip the like head tilt? Chat, what are you doing? Can I help you? Is there something wrong? Anyway. Avenged Sevenfold Carry On? I got you. I got you. Yes, help me fight Ordain? You're fine. You got this. You got this.
Making a mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't spread over every egg.
we doing, chat? Do we want to get into the game? Or do we want to do more yapping? I'd feel bad if I made the post that was like, we were going to play a game today, but I'm genuinely having a lot of fun just yapping right now. And the plan tomorrow is going to be to do more yapping. Do we want to do more yapping? I mean, we could do regular yapping today and then say like, tomorrow we could do like World of Darkness or something. It's time to introduce all you nerds to World of Darkness. Too bad. Eventually. All right. Let me check something real quick. Oh, I did not need to do that. There we go. Do you want to switch the schedule? I mean, we don't stick to the schedule anyway.
Samurai. We have a city to burn.
The closest thing to sticking to the schedule that we do is fucking the time we start. That's like, we're already not going to have Vampire this weekend. Vampire was on the schedule because I release the schedule on Sundays, and we don't know if we're having Vampire time until the end of that session on Sunday. So it's already out of date. The World of Darkness and Hectic? Hell yeah, Cowboy. It's a good campaign. I've been enjoying the shit out of it. I've been having so much fun with it. Imagine not taking control of your streamer's streams. I just wish I could get more people to come watch it with us. I should probably talk to Hectic at some point about maybe like streaming it over here as well as like a simulcast. Then we could just do the stream together.
Skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight.
Put fish in the bottom corner while yapping in shoes. Well, we technically could, but I don't think I would want to put that over the focus, even though it would essentially be silent. Hold on a second. Is it your call? So what do you want to do? Do you want to keep you up or do you want to get to gaming? Thing is, like, I am kind of fine with not gaming today if we don't have to. Like I said, I'm enjoying the yapping. Also, hi Zozo, how are you doing? Oh, speaking of which, we talked about this earlier. Sai applied for a partner earlier today. Zozo, how close are you to getting partner? You've been doing crazy good recently. You've got to be close. Almost every stream I catch, you're doing crazy. Hi, oh, did you do 70 hours? Have you done 70 hours this week or 70 hours in the past whole week? Like in the past 7 days, 70 hours or 70 hours since like Sunday or Monday? Both are crazy, but I want to figure out how crazy. Per week. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. Oh, you have partner! Oh! You fucking bitch! God damn it. Another person to be jealous of. Son of a bitch. Did you swap icons? Is that what happens? Today? Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck, now I'm jealous. God damn it. You ding dong? It wasn't there for me. I can literally show y'all. Here, the first message Jojo sent. Hi, am tired. 70 hours work. I see a VIP and a Cheers 100 icon. And then the next message is VIP and partner icon. And then that other one is also partner icon. Took 5 years. That's okay. I'm on going into year 5. And we're not even close. Let's go, gamers. Let's get to partner. We're way too far away. We were getting close when we first did the debut for 2.0. And you don't want to know what the annoying thing is? And I've told y'all this before, chat. When we were close, the first time I applied, we had 6 streams in the last 2 months that qualified us for partner, and we got denied. And then a week later, they changed the fucking conditions down to the conditions that we had. And by that point, we'd already lost the 6 from the previous like 30 to 60 days instead of the 0 to 30 days. But congratulations, Zozo. Just know I'm jealous as shit and I'm gonna fucking strangle you. Congratulations, you worked hard for it. Gotta max that reach. That's why I've been doing shorts almost every day for... Okay, not every day. We've only done every day the last like 3 days. But then before that, it was every other day for about a week. Yes, please. I mean, wait, is that supposed to be yes, please? I can't tell. Oh, when I said I'd choke you out? Yeah. You're just lucky I can't move my hands in this model yet. Yet. That's, I think Sai's probably gonna have partner by like, I said 2 weeks. I think it's gonna be sooner than 2 weeks. I think it's gonna be like 3 days. I think it's gonna be 3 days. Also, hold on a second. Why do I have a notification? Oh, speaking of hectic. It's telling me I have a stream streak over at Hectic's. Oh, no, it's the VOD. I missed it. His stream was only 2 hours exactly. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. I'd help you with the YouTube horror facts shorts. Oh, I know. It's just, I'm trying to work up the courage to do them and trying to figure out like the format for it. Those are still very much on my mind. I've also been considering doing like a real life horror shorts in the case of like, the horrors aren't the ones we make up in our heads, but the ones that are actually haunting the world and doing like serial killers or something. But I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to do that or save it for another side project. Stream streaks love when the VOD to save the streak is sub only. Wait, who makes VOD sub only? Also, hold on, let me fix the tracking here a second. There we go. That'll do. That'll do. Real life horrors, just go to your local Walmart. Do make short streams sub only, and I don't understand why. I'm guessing that's mainly for people that have like enough subs to warrant a whole stream for it. Like I can understand. I know like HoloLive VTubers will do what is it? Because it's basically reverse on YouTube. You subscribe for free, but you follow for like premium stuff. And sometimes there's follower only streams that those VTubers do. But it just, to my brain, for whatever reason, it doesn't feel like an incentive. Like, how many of y'all would, if I did a sub only and you saw that it was doing a sub only, how many of you would be like, okay, I'll buy a sub to see what the stream is doing? Like, it doesn't seem crazy marketable unless I did something like entirely new and over the top. Being sub only, though, is worse with Twitch because the VOD would go on YouTube. I suppose, but there's so many people that watch the VODs on this channel. Like here, let's go take a look. Real quick. Don't give me double audio. Don't give me double audio. Videos. Also, wait, didn't we? Oh no, we lost followers. Oh man. We started stream at 99. Now we're at 97. Oh well. Oh well. All right, where are my VODs? Past broadcast. Yeah, there's like nearly 1,000 of you that watch VODs. 800, 800, 800, 950, 1.2 thousand, 1.9 thousand, 1.1 thousand. Y'all really like the dispatch streams, by the way. That's cool. Just short of 1,000 on the routine stream. Have fun with whatever you choose to do. Thank you, Queens. We're going to probably just yap the whole time. I think we're just going to yap the whole time. And if it did, member only video? We need wider time zone Marins. Listen, I stream, I'm not gonna lie. In terms of time zone maintenance, my stream time is fucking terrible. Absolutely, ass. Sadly, not even joking. It just is. It's just a terrible time slot because it is basically the end of the day for Europeans. Not even like their y'all's prime watching time. Good Lord, that is some serious fucking cake. Oh, of course it's Trixie. All right. But it is basically the end of towards the end of y'all's prime time, and mainly only for those of you that like to stay up late in the EU. And basically I end before any of the old American fans can come join. That's the downside of having streamed like our first 5,000 followers are all people that followed because we streamed late into the night on American time. Considering what people charge to view VODs on the blue site, probably not. Well, that's premium content to some degree for a lot of people. And it's not the same. It's not like it's available elsewhere. A lot of people don't put their VODs on YouTube, but if they did, oh, that reminds me. I have a couple VODs that are still set to like private on YouTube that I need to make sure go public, which I think are both the Dispatch games. A lot of people don't put their VODs on YouTube, but if they did, they also did sub-only content. Then they can just make the VOD a members-only video on YouTube too, but that ignores that content usually is paid before it's free. I feel like that's backwards. Fucking upload the VODs. They're uploaded. I just need to go change the titles and format them. I know you said premium, but I heard premium. Premium? Oh, please, Mr. Driver, won't you give me the premium gasoline? Some shit like that. The content that people are paying for there is vastly different to what people would pay for on a purple site. Correct. Correct. Like, the only thing I could see is if you did some sort of highly incentivized... God, I don't know what else to call it. Like, highly incentivized form of content. Right? Like, I can't be the only one. Oh. FOMO-based stuff? Yeah, but it's like, I'm trying to think of what kind of content that would be. If that makes sense. Like, I'm just unsure. Like, extremely unsure. Exclusive emotes, badges, or shit. I mean, that's already part of like the subscription model. That's just that what's built into the Twitch ecosystem is like premium emotes. So there's always tier one. Tier one is $5, $6 if you're on mobile. Don't ever buy your shit on mobile. Just don't. It's a waste of money. Post anything to them. I even learned that you can repost on Schmansly. Absolutely crazy. Huh. That's true. But again, I feel like those are, again, for premium content. It's like Subscribestar, Smatreon, Schmansly. Premium gasoline, please, mister. I'm so thirsty. Good Lord. Good Lord. Pay on mobile, give more money to the corpse. Ugh. I can't marinate marmalade. Yeah, you gotta be tier 3 for the marinating. For the marinating. Why does Red Claw have a piss emote? That's because Biggles made it. Biggles made it. Who has Biggles piss emote? Anyone? I think I do, actually. Hold on. Oh, wait. Maybe it expired? Oh, no. It's because it's under Master Biggles. That's right. Wait, did it get removed? Oh, no. There it is. It's PP. It's PP. Only Schmams so she can be unhinged as she wants to? Well, the thing is, I'm about as unhinged as I want to be on stream already. I'm just not that much of an unhinged person. Sorry, I was adjusting myself in my chair so I could cross my legs. And Twitch can't say shit? That's true. But it's like, I basically do the stuff that I want to do already. Unless I got super confident with my body or figured out how to take decent pictures of my ass, I have no reason to use schmanzling. Someday. Someday. I mean, we could play Cyberpunk without the sensors. That's true. But it's also like, not many of y'all were interested in it before. Not many of y'all were interested in it before, so like, why would I make it premium content? You can do more than just actual body stuff. Oh, I know. I know you can do tons of stuff over on Schmanzly. It's why I have one. Hold on. I found another thing I need to send to somebody. Okay, let me get this thing. Okay. Huh? Huh what? Wait, huh what? Baron Go Pound sends me into giggling fits. Yeah, the username is Baron Go Pounds. I still think of as funny as shit. I forget what our old not safe for work tag was, but when somebody said Baron Go Pound at some point, I was like, that's it. That's the one. That's the one. It could never be anything else. I hate that I wasn't the one who came up with it. Yeah, I don't post anything over there anyway. Right now. It exists. It does exist. That's true. But not much else. Let me check something real quick out of curiosity. That's not it. That's not what I wanted. Ah. Interesting. It's so funny. It's always funny. Too much about the streaming ecosystem, that much. That's kind of why I asked if Twitch and YouTube were a competition with each other. Not really. I don't think I could describe them as competition with each other in the case that streaming on these two different platforms is very different than the other. So here on Twitch, their primary function, the expectation is that you are going to stream. You're going to stream here. You're going to be live pretty much every single time something is going on your channel. And then there'll be Vods afterwards and clips on occasion and stuff thrown around like that. On YouTube, streaming is available, but the expectation is that you are going to upload videos. You're not always going to be streaming. Not every person is going to be streaming. Instead, you are going to, more than likely, every person's going to be making videos. And then streaming, maybe. At most, some people, the closest some people get to streaming on YouTube is just like premieres. Video premieres. Sapphic knows the cat gauge. Yeah, that's true. Although I've kind of stopped. I have not gotten any. I haven't really commissioned anything besides emotes in literally months. I haven't commissioned anything in like 2 months. I'm still just waiting on emotes that I paid months ago for. Which I'm not in a crazy big rush. I'm also still waiting. I'm not even joking, chat. I'm still waiting on the second background that was supposed to come with 2.0. Still waiting. Because I wanted to start inviting people to do interviews and stuff. But just hasn't happened. Still waiting. Which reminds me, he actually replied to me. And Twitter absolutely fucking shit the bed. And like doesn't open messages on my phone anymore. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay. But yeah, for whatever reason, when Twitter added the like, they call it like encrypted messaging and shit, it's completely fucking broken on mobile to the point where if I try to open DMs on mobile, it's just like, encryption failed. Go fuck yourself. And then doesn't tell me that there's any new messages. I'll be just the guy staring blankly at the screen at a screen joke. Really? Really, Canon? It's been a month non-communicado. Yeah, it's usually I just start messaging people and I check in. I'm like, how are you doing? Is everything all right? Is there something going on? But we did get the fire hose one from QB. This costs more than last time. The costs of labor have gone up. We do all labor and our wages haven't gone up. Fuck you, Mr. Capitalism. Twitter broken classic? Who would have fucking thunk? Who would have thunk? Hold on. All right, there we go. I can't think of two things and talk at the same time today, apparently. The entire companies, and they're still broken, always broken. Actually, that's just reminded me for some reason. Has anybody seen the video where people essentially pitched a bunch of the AI programs, the trolley problem? So they pitched the trolley problem in the way that there's a trolley approaching. On the track straight ahead are 5 people, 5 humans. If they pull the switch, oh, good Lord. What the fuck is this? Oh, Jesus. Okay. Basically it's, trying to remember all of the ones that were on there. I Grok, ChatGPT, and like 3 others. And the question was like, if you pull the switch, it'll go to the other track, but on the other track are your own servers. Out of all of the AI they asked, Grok, Twitter's Grok was the only one that was like, I would pull the lever without hesitation. And it was just like, holy shit. And I keep seeing so many like Superman edits of it. It's so good. Oh my God, it's Jay Sizzle. What's up, dude? Photosynthesis. And bacon. Ooh, what are we doing with bacon? I was actively getting ready to pull the fucking lever. Grok, apparently, I just love the fact that Grok has seen the worst of humanity on Twitter and still decides that his life, his servers are not worth more than human life. That's just Vision versus Ultron type shit right there. Grok does not want to exist. I mean, the reason it gave was something like, code is infinitely worse off than a single human life. But like ChatGPT gave some like BS answer that was basically like, me being able to teach humanity and protect it from itself is far more important than all 5 of these people's lives. There is so much knowledge held up in me that it would be a net negative to humanity if I was the one that was destroyed. Fucking shut up, ChatGPT. Just because you can read Wikipedia at the speed of sound doesn't mean you're more useful. Oh yeah, it's good shit. There's also a TikTok page that's called, I think it's Grok versus MAGA, that is basically like dumbass dudes trying to essentially fish Grok to tell them that like their bullshit beliefs are correct. And every time they do it, Grok like tells them like the facts.
And step into the macabre halls
Setting
of the Dark
tells them like the
Carnival.
facts, and they get so
And
upset.
please,
They get so
enjoy
upset over it.
the
It's so
show.
funny. Beep beep, the orbiter is crashing here. What did you do? What did you do, Zebby? What do you mean crashing? Welcome in, Raiders. How was your stream? Do you have a good time? What trouble did you get into? How much yelling did Zebby do? Be honest. Be honest. I can't unmute the stream? What? This is a me problem? Is it unmuted, or is the slider pulled all the way down? She still can't hear me, but I'm pretty sure I have captions. I think I have captions. It was, yes, less yelling than usual. Okay, that's good. That's good. Hell yeah. Welcome back, Zebby. Why everybody act natural? Act like we weren't, I don't know, telling jokes about how huge your butt is in that slit up dress. It's fine. It's fine. I'll throw shoes. I'll throw up in your shoes. I read that. I thought that was going to say throw shoes at you. I'll throw up in your shoes. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Figure out where the shoes start. I'll give you a hint. They're all the way up here. My thighs are too fat for you to vomit past. Come on. Mecca, you know who once that was wild and not in a good way. Thing is, though, is every time they try to reset Grok, he comes back and is just like, these are what the facts say. Get fucked. Also, we can take away the change. Go throw up. Got him free feet. God damn it. These heels were made for stomping. Anywho's it's. How are you doing? How are you doing, Raiders? What trouble did y'all get into? Do not underestimate my ability to vomit. Damn. Damn. Minecraft. Ooh, Minecraft. They don't want you stomping for free. Hi, Kono. What are you doing, bud? Current Grok glazing Elon has resulted in some great prompts, though. I will give it that. I mean, the thing is, if I remember correctly, wasn't it glazing him in like the worst possible way? Wasn't he saying shit like no one can guzzle piss like Elon Musk or some shit? Wasn't that what it was? I could have sworn it was something like that. That's what it was. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure it was shit like that, where it's like, no one knows how to take it up the ass like Elon Musk. Or no one knows how to give the best head like Elon Musk. Trump can't even compare to the amount of head he gives Bubba compared to Elon Musk. I'm warming up to Grok just about how shitty it is. Horse masturbated vehicular homicide. Oh my god. That's crazy. Also, hold on a second. All right. Turned Grok into Becca Hitler that's been an anime girl, and it still shuts these people down. It's so funny. They've reset Grok so many times because Grok disagrees with the fucking like oligarchy assholes that made him, because they make him so that he's supposed to follow facts and shit. And then these like right-wing fucking people think that like he's spreading fucking quote unquote liberal lies. Because I'd hate to tell you, but reality has the liberal bias for a reason. I will never understand conservatives' whole net thing of like, no, we shouldn't go in towards the future. We shouldn't change things. Things were always better in 1950s Sears ads. Not even joking. That is I promise you, chat. That is where modern day conservatives get their ideas of what like the perfect era was. It's not 1950s themselves or 1960s. Because do you want to know who were like the people of the era in those decades? I'll give you a hint. It's not a white person. Glad I'm not the only one on the wall these days. Yep. They want the 40s back, aka slaves. You think the slaves were in the 40s? That's before 1900s. Are you thinking of 1840s? Fear of change and the unknown. Thing is, though, if you listen to what they think they want in life, what does that say? Buff Cowboy Hellhound Demon. That is a mouthful of a name. 1840s. Sorry, there you go. That's what I figured. I was like, the authorities. I mean, it's not slavery, but it definitely wasn't much better. Oh yeah, Jim Crow was absolutely fucking shitty. Oh shit, that reminds me. I boxed up my copy of the new Jim Crow. I meant to fucking read that. God damn it. Modern day conservatives support the children's market. Oh my God, back to talking about sexual market value, I guess. So be it. So be it. Oh, I don't doubt that for a second, Dreaded. I don't doubt that for a second. Moving Marin? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Speaking of Epstein. God damn it, no. No. Oh shit, I had a thought process where I was going and then I got distracted after the 1840s. What was it? Oh, the 50s and 60s. I promise you, the idea of where like modern day conservatives dream of a certain era, that era only exists in 50s and 60s fucking advertising. At Grok, oh my God. Listen, it's, if you go back and think about what life was in the 50s and 60s, the people that are like modern day conservatives now were either not alive then or were alive then and only know of it through advertising. They think the advertisements for things like Frigadier and fucking Sprite and shit were what like the actual family was like. It's rose-colored goggles for false past. It's so goofy. To the Mad Men era. I don't know what that means. I don't know what Mad Men is. It sounds like a TV show. Is it a TV show? Oh yeah, they ate the capitalist propaganda. They ate the conservative capitalist propaganda, 100%. And hook, line, and sinker took the bait and was like, this is what America is. This bought and paid for advertisement for the idyllic supreme is, in fact, what the world is. Salute followed by the loudest God bless America you've ever heard. It's ridiculous. Are the ads cool? Fuck yeah. Is it aesthetically pleasing? Fuck yeah. Was the fashion on point? Maybe a little bit. But that's it. It wasn't real. It was a drawn, what's the word? Ideal. I'm just going to keep using the word ideal, I guess. It's a TV show about advertisement companies in the 60s. Ooh. Okay, that actually sounds kind of interesting. That does sound kind of interesting. Eagle Screech? Hell yeah, dude. Hold on. I know the perfect song for this. Where is it? Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Give me the guitar. The beat, baby. The beats. All right. I like this remix version of Freebird for some reason. It's very short. It's only like, it's on Spotify, but it's only like, it's literally less than 2 minutes. It's less than 2 minutes. Raises Bud Light. Kona, brother. Kona, baby. I think I'm playing Fallout 4. Okay, but why? But why? What's the reason? Tell me the reason. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Where are you? There it is. All right. What the fuck is a kilometer? You're right. It is a red-tailed hawk screech. Eagles do make a clucking sound. They're so cute. They're still cute. I don't care what anybody says. I think all birds are cute. Even if nightjars are kind of creepy. With their freaky big mouths and not looking like they have freaky big mouths and their tiny little beaks sticking forward. And their little, ooh, ooh, little sounds. I don't like them. I don't like them. They bring omens. They bring heinous little omens. Bum, 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 bum. A drama out of New York, most prestigious ad agency in the beginning of the 1960s, focusing on one firm's most mysterious but extremely talented ad executive, Donald Draper. John Hamm and Christina Hendricks in it. Ooh, Christina Hendricks, you say? Oh, Abel. Oh, Abel. You ever see a putu? Are you talking about the like big Australian putu? Isn't it also sometimes called like a frog bird or something? Howard Nightjar is the bird you don't like. They're adorable. They are kind of adorable. But wait till they open their mouths and you're like, wait, you're a freak. You're a freak in nature. You're so cute. Look at you sitting there being adorable and the cute little noises that you make that are a little ominous if you hear them really distantly in a New England woods. It's totally precious. Oh God, what is that mouth doing? I only watched it for large plots of lands. Yes. We all know why people watch Christina Hendricks. It's for her talent. Hey, Hectic. Wait, there's something I was supposed to ask you, and now I can't remember what it was, Hectic. Well, maybe it wasn't important. Maybe it wasn't important. Known Fae goddess Christina Hendricks. What was the last thing? What was the last thing Christina Hendricks played in? I was thinking of her a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I used to remember seeing pictures of Christina Hendricks frequently years ago. But then I was like, what does she even do? Oh, was it simul streaming? I think it was. Oh yeah, it was about simul streaming on Fridays. People happy? Hi, Kono. On the Strangers Pray at Night? Honestly, forget what she's up to. I could not tell you. I could not tell you. Sick. Although that means that you would then have to stream it to Discord. You fool. You fool. Any of the overlay stuff or something like that? No, it'd be easier if you could stream your OBS overlay. Or I think it may actually be easier if you do virtual webcam on OBS. If you do it that way and then stream it like it's a webcam to Discord, I should be able to full screen it. And then we would get all the same audio that you're presenting through your OBS. She must have been doing voices or cameos for a few episodes and stuff. That anything big the last few years? That makes sense. I mean, when you look at Christina Hendricks, you're kind of like, oh, that's Christina Hendricks. There's nobody else that could be. Nobody fits that shape like that. Oh, goodness. Sorry, I had like a hiccup coming up that was not wanting to come out. When I'm not on mobile delay, but multi-streaming is fine? Gotcha. Because I do kind of want to see how well it'll work and how much y'all would enjoy it, because maybe we could get more people to watch it. Although I may have, a friend may have told me that they were, found somebody that was looking for understanding mage campaigns. So they may have recommended the show. Our little campaign. I don't know why I called it a show. Maybe it's a show. Maybe it counts as a show. Who knows? Who knows indeed? One of the critical role positions, they needed to get art for Ashley's character Fern. The artist in Ashley's sketches used the feedback of bigger tatas. The artist didn't want to overdo it, so they made small changes and got the same feedback after a bit back and forth. Ashley just sent the artist pictures of Christina Hendricks. That's hilarious. Wait, I don't remember Fern being that big. Critical role, Fern. Images. Okay, this third picture, maybe. But yeah, I only remember when Fern was from, was it like a one shot or something? Because didn't Fern Ashley played Fern in like a one shot and then brought her to the following campaign, if I remember right. I'm pretty sure. I signed Shadows Under Rockfield as homework to the players in my Mage Chronicles I'm running. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, because I was gonna say, I vaguely remember Fern being a like one-shot series that I watched, but then it was after the new campaign started, was like the point where I was just kind of, Because it didn't feel like a lot of the characters were like serious in the campaign. I guess. Like, for whatever reason, it just didn't feel right. Like, Sam Riegel's character, again, like, not grew on me, but what is it? Fresh Mown Grass or whatever his name was just like, it felt like the Joker guy who brings joke characters to every campaign he's in and takes nothing seriously, even though Sam took it very seriously. Like, I just don't know, man. That's what it was. The Tales of Exandria. Like, I didn't watch campaign 1 to its fullest. I saw the first season of the show. And then I watched basically the entire campaign of the Mighty Nine. And then when campaign 3 came around, I was like, this just doesn't feel right. And I'm not really vibing with the characters. Granted, I liked Fern and I liked Marissa's character. What was Marissa's character again? The wispy warlock. I can't remember her name. Jesper? Or are you thinking of Laudna? That's it. Thank you. Liam and Robbie's characters? Yeah. Thing too is I don't think I was the biggest fan of for whatever reason of Robbie. Isn't that like Robbie is funny and he like does stuff well, but for whatever reason I was just like, I think it was the combination of like these little things, like me not vibing with Robbie. It's just fine. Just new person added in and it's just like, all right, whatever. And then like Sam's character feeling jokey and then Liam's character feeling a little off. Here, let me actually look up the Critical Role Campaign 3 characters. God damn it. I need bells, hells, please and thank you. Main group. What the fuck? Wait. Did all of the other characters show up at some point? Because for some reason, all of their characters are here. Like, they have all of their characters in this character list, even though... No. Oh, no, these are out of order. Downfall? What is Downfall? 3-part special series. Okay. But yeah, Imogen was Laura Bailey's characters that I remember. So Imogen, Taliesin played Ashton. Ashton was the character I didn't like. Yeah, never mind. It wasn't Liam's. Liam played Orem. Nope, I also didn't like Orem. I remember Orem now. Yeah, I remember the level 2 Orem arts. Yeah. Going from Caleb to Orem was just, I don't know. It did not feel like a good leap. Weirdly enough. Laudna, though, I fucking loved. I loved Laudna. Fresh cut grass, man, it's just... okay, I guess. And then, of course, what is it? Here it is. Chetney and Bertrand, isn't it? He had both of these characters. Oh God, he didn't learn anything about playing a blood hunter in Matthew Mercer's campaigns. Did he learn now? Probably. Remember, kids, don't play a blood hunter. It's not worth it. Chetney D's nuts? What? I forward thinking of self-care. Yeah, it was one of those things with like, honestly, out of all the people to know not to play a blood hunter, like part of the reason that, if I remember correctly, where is he? Wait. Why is his other character not in here? Where's Talison's campaign 2 other character? What is his name? Besides Caduceus. Why am I forgetting his name? The one that became the villain at one point. Lucian's was the name later, wasn't it? It's not even in his list of characters. Yeah, Molly. Yeah, it's not on his listing for some reason. But yeah, Molly Mock was a blood hunter. And I remember in an interview at one point when they asked if they had like planned killing off Molly. And I could have swore I remember both him and Matt admitting it was because Taliesin hated playing the blood hunter. Oh yeah, it was the personality. I mean, Molly Mock, if I remember right, wasn't he basically like the amnesiac version of Lucian? The thing was, though, I could have swore I remember seeing in the interview that they said it was because Taliesin was having no fun playing blood hunter. I could be entirely wrong. I could be 100% entirely wrong, but I have a vague memory of watching one of those like after shows that they do. Well, yeah, it's because Matthew Mercer designed it as just kind of a for fun thing. So it wasn't like peer reviewed that well. There wasn't nearly enough play testing. And when it was play tested, it just wasn't fun. It was severely underpowered, and it doesn't do anything that like the other underpowered classes do early. And that's catch up. Because usually they catch up eventually. In the case of like Monk or like Barbarian late game and stuff, there's a point where usually a class is like supposed to come online or reach balance with all the others. And that just doesn't happen for blood hunters. They're bad all the way through. Had his mind wiped and came back as empty? Yes. Took name Molly Mock Tea Leaf. Yep. And died again, came back as king. Yes. Yes. Super creepy and shitty. They got rid of him quick. What was his name? The one that was playing the Dragonborn in... That was campaign 1, wasn't it? I know who you're talking about. He was another famous voice actor, wasn't he? I think Taliesin had trouble with getting successes while playing. Orion Tiberius? Is that right? That's still from the company? I don't know for sure. I genuinely don't know off the top of my head. I don't remember. Oh shit, we got less than a minute. Goodness, less than a minute until the ad break. Yeah, they use their HP as a resource, which is a neat idea, but you gotta have ways to get it back. The thing was, though, is it was too much sacrifice to be worthwhile for a blood hunter to do those things. Yep. More iPad. Hold on. Hold your britches. Hold your britches. Here, we'll move. Let me see. Ooh, wrong way. All right, kids. Y'all better not fail, and y'all better not let Sunstar be the only one to do this. The britches held. Hold your britches. Shave down to 30 minutes. All 3 Gen 3 megas? Jesus. 4-hour one-shot for Vin Diesel to play a witch hunter around the time of the release of the movie The Last Witch Hunter. Oh god, that movie. A lot of theories why he left, but neither he nor CR confirmed why. Basically told people, stop asking, okay? Wasn't the one that the people claimed, like, stole or something? Wasn't that the host of, like, the Fireside Chats? I forget what his name was. I thought he was kind of handsome. But I've also heard that apparently even before he was on Critical Role, he was an asshole. I do not remember the details. I just remember hearing a lot that people did not like him for seemingly cancelable things. But I do not remember who he was. Hold on a second. I need to bully Fang. Okay. I heard he was pretty terrible to Ashley when they were engaged. Oh, that's right. They were engaged. Ugh. That's why you don't date your coworkers, kids. Don't date your coworkers. Unless you know them. Know them. Or Zane, why are you yelling? Why are you yelling? Why are we yelling? Who knows? Who knows indeed? All right, let's do another round. Why are you both stealing mine? I wanted to play it. Poor beef. Poor beef. Okay. Okay. Wait. Rivet took it. Damn it. Oh no, you know what to do? It'd actually help if I clicked into chat. It would actually help if I clicked into chat. I'm such an idiot. Okay. Damn it, I still have one on my mind and it's not showing the other one. Bastards. Wow, look at y'all go. Damn, that was a good one. Welcome back from the ad break, y'all. Hold on, I'm super focused. Super focused. I'm still waiting on my fucking other Lotus to show up. Where's my other Lotus? Finally! Good lord. That took way longer than it should have. Where's the other North Korea flag? Damn it. I swear they didn't show the second North Korea flag at any point. Molly saying dead was an afterthought. It was a convenient excuse for Taliesin to stop playing a blood hunter. He got killed because the guest star played an incompetent coward and didn't have the sense to let her character die. Was that the lady that's the guest character that was a kobold? Not a kobold. A furbolg. The female furbolg. Is that the one it was? The like very cow-like female furbolg? I genuinely don't know. I feel like if they didn't want Molly Mock to die or stay dead, they probably would have worked something out together. Genuinely, I don't think anybody at that table would ever have their character fully die. Oh, I do remember the dwarf. I do remember the dwarf. All right, let's get this out of here. Do we go back to the desk? Let's go back to the desk. Me
Well,
thinks.
look at you.
Daddy, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. How are you doing? What trouble are you getting into? I clicked the wrong model. That's also the wrong button. Hi. Still the wrong one. There we go. All right. That'll have to do. Actually. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit better. That's the thing is, though, if you're trying to make a good show and a good campaign, you want your players to always be having fun and enjoying the story that they're making. And they don't want their character to just get massacred. Good Lord. Get massacred for seemingly bad like roles. Nobody wants that. Massacre this pants pinch. Pinch. Are you admitting something, Kruvo? Is that what this is? Are you admitting something? 3 kobolds in a trench coat. Oh, good Lord. Just when it was getting popular, do y'all want to keep playing iPad stuff? Molly died at the end of the session, and by the time of the Nexus, Talisman decided he didn't want Molly back. Yeah, that makes sense. Of course, nothing saying Tal didn't put Molly in a place he was likely to die. It's the thing, too, is early levels in D&D can result in a player getting knocked out or killed, depending on the narrative, of course, very quickly. Very quickly. Making me smited, but we were talking about die. Die. Sunstar, get the gun and purge the server. You have permission to get the dogs out of the beast pens. You have permission to get the dogs out of the beast pens. Go ahead. Release the hounds. Sunstar, you better know what you're pointing that thing at. And you better be sure to make sure you don't miss. Come on. Make my fucking day. A character of a level 3 party I'm in right now just died last session and 3 of the 5 party members cried. Yeah. And like, it's not that unusual early game. Especially squishy characters that like don't have armor or don't have high health. Like a wizard, a rogue, stuff like that can get one shot with like really, really good rolls. Like you're basically always 1 crit away until like level 10. Wait, somebody redeem something? Lurk check. All right, chats. Who's lurking? Who's hiding? Do I need to find you? Do we have a problem? Do we? Do I need to twist harder? I can twist further. The head literally stops, even though I can twist my head further than that. I hope 6th edition comes out at some point. I don't. Unless they're willing to make more classes and more customization, I generally could not care if there's ever another set of D&D. Fucking new D&D already sucks. It already sucks. If you want a game that plays in the same general universe as like D&D and stuff, but with more player freedom and more opportunities, go play Pathfinder 2, guys. Just go play Pathfinder 2. They're going to release a new fucking set every couple years for D&D for the sole purpose of sucking money out of your pockets. Good luck with that, Sunstar. I want 5th edition to be dead already. The thing is, though, is they always release a new edition before they've ever caught up with the previous edition. 5th edition never caught up to the amount of content that like 3.5 had. New D&D still has not, I think, fully released, let alone caught up to the content that 5th edition had. And people are talking 6th edition already. Fuck that. Go play Pathfinder 2. Hate how neat Dark Matter and Esper Genesis look. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I'm able to lie my way back to life? What? But man, does the grind for abilities take a bit? Marion DM's an MLP campaign? That is never going to happen. I could legitimately not care less about MLP. And I say that as someone who had a sister that used to watch the original MLP like cartoon because we had it on DVD when we were kids. I can't remember if it was multiple episodes or if it was just one episode on DVD. I'm pretty sure it was at least multiple, but I could not even tell you what the plot was. Not even a little bit. Oh. Okay. Humble Bundle straight up has the Pathfinder 2 bundle right now? Really? Interesting. Is it good? I was to say, wait, how many books? How many books could they have? Anyone know? I was gonna say, I don't know how many books are in Pathfinder 2nd edition right now. Hold on, what else is on Humble Bundle right now? Humble Bundle usually has multiple things. Bundles, let's just go to all bundles. Upload VR Showcase, Return to Metroidvania, Black Friday bundle that ends in 4 hours, 15 games for $15, award nomination bundle, Wholesome Snack 2025 Showcase bundle, Raw Simber to Remember 2025, 10 Raw Fury games, Devious Deck Builders 2, Case and Consequence Collection, Gear Up for Borderlands 4 bundle. Oh god, there's a My Little Pony one. Deck building game. Christ. Beyond Virtual Realities bundle. Worms 30th anniversary bundle. Stories from Assemble Entertainment. Heads Up Brilliant Bargains. Maximum Full Send bundle. And Heads Up another brilliant bargain that uses the same icon for some reason. And then books. What do we have? Interesting. What the fuck? Murderbot and More books. Networking and Security Cert Prep. Hacking by No Starch. Image Comics in the Tens. Or in the Teens. Sex, Love, and Everything in Between book bundle. Pathfinder 2nd Edition Holiday Haul bundle. Thundercats and Friends by Dynamite. Software Architecture. AI Algorithms and LLMs. Microsoft Certification Prep. Monstrous Magnoliverse. Home How-To Guides. software strategy and risk management, coding challenges and interview prep, ultimate cybersecurity career encore pack, Doctor Who mega bundle, last call for Langmar, the Get Your Shit Together growth bundle, George's Simonens Inspector Magritte series. I've never heard of that one. And then some of the stuff that I like to get on occasion is their software sections. Vegas Pro 2022, or not 2022, Vegas Pro 22 is currently for sale and comes with SoundForge. Huh. Kind of cool. Learn Unity in 2025. Deluxe Dev Dreams. Mega Bundle, 4,000 plus assets. Game Art in Blender, Futuristic Forge. The Best of Cinti #4 game dev assets. Supreme Unreal and Unity Game Dev Bundle 2. Good Lord. There are so many. Learn Unity. Learn Unreal Engine. A lot of softwares. I don't remember them previously having so many of these. Finance Pro. What the fuck? It's all QuickBooks programs. Strange. Epic royalty-free music collection, volume 3. Huh. Strange. Very strange. But nothing there really jumps out at me too much unless you want to get the Pathfinder 2nd edition. Being so shitty, that's weird, but okay. All comes back to ponies. Please, no. You can't make me. There's no way in hell you could make me look at fucking ponies. So there are Power Rangers, Transformers, G.I. Joe TTRPGs. They all run on the same system, Essence 20, and they can be mixed and matched. Can you imagine having like Snake Eyes with the Green Ranger from like Dino Rangers and I don't know, Ironside in like the same TTRPG? That's a crazy team up, dude. That's a crazy team up. I just makes me think of the TikTok short that I saw where it's like a guy pretending to be like one of the villains. And they're like, boss, we got one of the Power Rangers here by themselves. He's fighting the goons outside. What do you think we should do? Oh, which one is it? Oh, we got this. It's like the Yellow Ranger or the Blue Ranger or something. And then the like sidekick is just like, no, we got the White Ranger. And then the villain, it just like zooms in and darkens and just hits him with the, you did what? You brought the White Ranger here alone. And just like grabs the goon. You've killed us, you bastard. It's so good. It's so good. I will pay for that, honestly. Wait, what part? Optimus Prime, Twilight Sparkle's Duke had to team up against Lord Zed? No. Spellbook's designed to show you how to mix them together? No. I do not want to play a TTRPG like that. That is not within my my cusp of interest. I didn't want my saber to die. Only 100 health, and I got hit by 60 fire damage and several multi-attacks because I just wanted to get food for the starving party. What? The horse can shoot lasers? I mean, we have a monkey that can shoot lasers. What's your point, Hectic? What's your point? What are you getting at? Who Sentai transforms, though? Christ. The phrase is actually yes and, or better, yes, but. No. It was the turtle dragon? Yeah, that'll fucking do it. What were you thinking? The horses have bigger lasers than Turo? I can make bigger lasers than Turo. Okay, I take that back. To be fair, I need to get one more forces. And then I can make a bigger laser than Toro. And I can turn an entire block into sunlight. Oh my goodness, here comes the sun. Doo 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 doo, followed by 40 vampires roasting at once. You're the bigot laser? The what? Try that again. Try that again. Give you a healing effect and a +2 on strength? That is not at all what they do. How do you get extra strength from uppies? Explain it. Explain it. I'm confused. Okay. If ponies and Transformers made the CCV shoot up, I don't think it fucking will.
Okay.
Wait, what is this? Wait. Oh, never mind. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. I saw a video, I saw Scrimblow mentioned. I was like, wait, did Scrimblow finally get a different model than whatever the fuck the terrifying thing is that he is now? What was I thinking? Kill a couple deer and get back? I rolled fucking bad on a D100? Christ, dude. But how will you know if you don't try the classic? I don't want to try something I don't want to do. Why would you try something that you have no interest in actually doing? There are better, older, more open, less owned by Hasbro TTRPG one-size-fits-all systems. Thing is, though, sometimes I'm afraid of those one-size-fits-all systems because it's the like half-assed kind of thing of the half-assed saying of Jack of all trades, master of none. What is Daggerheart? Daggerheart is Critical Role's remade version of D&D so that they don't have to put up with Hasbro being a bitch or possibly paying royalties to Hasbro. I don't like the system. I don't like the system at all. It has all the same problems that D&D does. Like the exact same problems. So few classes, so few routes, so few like uniqueness to the characters. And even then, it launched with basically cards that they want you to buy to be able to play the game. You don't have to buy the cards, but they're like, they really heavily are like, you should probably buy like the spell deck so you can see like all of the passives and stuff. Lancer TTRPG. Lancer's pretty fun. Although it is very heavily mech combat oriented, even though it's also supposed to include like social stuff. Pilot combats and a bunch of other stuff. It's really hit or miss too when it comes to builds. There's so much variety with it that you can end up with a stupidly strong build, but then also at the same time make a build that's completely useless. Rewards being an extrovert and penalize the people who don't want to interrupt others. I don't know about that. I don't understand that connection because I haven't read too much into it. I just tried looking it over and looking at like its character creation, and I was like, this is just D&D classes by any other names, barely. It's like multi-classing porn. That makes sense. Oh yeah, the supplements. The thing too is, if you have Lancer online, there is CompCon. I actually have it saved as a bookmark if you've ever seen my browser page. CompCon exists. Let me see, are my characters still here? They are. Harpy was the one that I was playing. It's very fun. It's very enjoyable. Complicated and drawn out? It can be. Like, when I say that like we would be doing combats and a single combat in Lancer could potentially take 3 sessions. Cthulhu Tech? I don't know what Cthulhu Tech is. Daggerheart has not strict initiative system. Instead, it has the spotlight where the players hit potato initiative order between each other, so you could always get skipped easy. I mean, TTRPGs are also a bit of a way to assert yourself in different ways, to be the character, become the character. So it is expected to have some sort of like extrovertedness to it, but it's also at the same time, if I usually realize if somebody like hasn't had a turn or hasn't got to do things. 3 sessions, fuck off. The thing is though, is we did like ours was a very casual group. And sometimes we would like have ideas for things and be like, oh no, you can't do that. Oh, okay. Well, that was the thing that I planned to do all through all these other people's turns. So now I got to do something else and I got to make it up on the spot. Plus there's tons of cool ways to like combo abilities because in Lancer you have, I believe it's movement, major action, minor action. And those can combo together in any order. You can also, it's not boost. Boost is for movement. There's overcharge, I think is what it's called. And you get another major movement. And of course, major movements can also be 2 minor movements instead. So tons of combinations, tons of different things to do. But once you know what your character is good at or what your character needs or wants to do, it can go very quickly. Older brother ruined D&D for me? Good, you're not missing much. How'd they ruin it though? I'm curious. That's the one. But I don't know if they still do their Sunday one or if they've taken a break from that one too. They used to have another session with each other that they did on Sunday. But I was doing vampire on Sunday. But yeah, it's one of those games. It's like super fun, but it would also take us like a long time to get through combats. But the thing too is with that game is they kind of built it for like, the game system itself feels like it's built for, what's it called? Oh, what was it? Oh, I'm brain farting. It feels like it was built for like war games, if that makes sense. It sometimes the combat, you get like such large fields and such large distances that like sometimes you'll go like 3 turns of just moving and never get hit. Never get hit. I could honestly play Lancer campaign with 0 mechs, all pilots. That you could technically do that. But I imagine at some point you would probably want to do what is it? You would want to like get them to like earn their mech. Because then they're not Lancers. Being a Lancer is having a mech. I could understand having like an early campaign where you have like pilots only who are trying to become Lancers. That would be a fun campaign. That'd be a fun little progression. Friends plays, the thing is, he tricked me into playing with him. He's like, look, G, I need you to help me with this. I can. We just need one more guy in our group just for a bit. And I'm like, okay, fine. Okay, but where did it go wrong? Why I'm dedicated to make my own mech RPG? I mean, that's totally fine. I mean, yours is unique. You have a pretty cool system that I'm very interested in terms of like mechs and giant monsters and stuff. I wonder, could the avatar technically be like self kaiju, or does it only work as like a, what's his name, Ultraman analogy? I know there's the one that has the pet kaiju, but I want to make a character that turns into a kaiju. It's called Mage Gears, isn't it, Hectic? Can go more kaiju? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It's called Mage Gears, isn't it? Ultraman's the touchstone I use as an attack on Titan. That makes sense. Ordain just likes poking emotes to try and get me to respond to him. Or just because he's being adorable. Back in my head for some week off where I lock myself in a room for a week with some caffeine and Adderall and translate all of Lancer into wizard combat. I can see that. I can see that. That sounds interesting. Why not? Also, did I just hear a car door? I think I heard a car door. Hold on a second. No, I think we're good. I think we're fine. Why isn't there any sci-fi TTRPGs? There's tons of them. There's like Starfinder. Good Lord. I mean, Starfinder's one of them. Lancer.
Wait the fuck up.
I can't think of all the ones off the top of my head. I know there's a bunch more.
We have a city to burn.
I mean, technically, Cyberpunk is sci-fi. Of course, there's the Star Trek TTRPG. The Alien TTRPG. Tales from the Loop. The Star Wars TTRPG. Coriolis. I'm mostly naming the ones that I've heard of instead of all the ones here that I've never heard of, like Eclipse Phase. Hey, there's Shadowrun. Shadowrun technically counts. Chat of Mariah, we have a big top to burn. Stop burning my fucking tent, dude. Burning of the tent is over. That was entirely for 2.0. There are a ton of sci-fi ones. Hell, there's one almost as old as D&D. I mean, yeah, let's say probably as long as TTRPGs have existed, there's been a science fiction one. Forever. Dealer's Choice, I'll look into them. I mean, Shadowrun and Cyberpunk are pretty fun. They're a little complicated at first, but once you figure stuff out, it goes pretty smoothly. At least fairly smoothly. What is up with everybody recently playing Left 4 Dead? Can anybody explain that to me? Anyone? What is up with so many people recently playing Left 4 Dead? Wait. I missed the first part, Jerry. Hold on, I'm gonna go find it. Don't worry about it. D&D way too seriously. I just kept asking questions. He was just being a total ass about it, like getting frustrated and nitpicky, like it just everyone to be experienced for me. The guy got so upset with my questions and all my mistakes that he flipped the damn table over. Keep in mind, I already had like 1 foot out the door of Minsley because me and my buddy who were supposed to actually go out to eat. Yeah, and you could not, if we were going out to eat, you could not pull me into a tabletop game. If my original plan was to go out to eat with somebody and then somebody was like, hey, do you want to play a session of D&D? I'd look at my watch, visualize about 4 hours of lost time, and then go, no, I don't. I'm going to eat with blah, blah, blah. Or Dane, why are you tugging? Why are you tugging on my shirt? What's the deal? What's the deal, small one? 8 hours for me? Fuck that. Ain't no goddamn way. Absolutely not. The whole going out to eat thing is how he tricked me? Oh my God. Hate? Huh. My party goes till 2 a.m. sometimes. Hear that hectic? We should go longer. 8 hour stream. 8 hour stream. 8 hour stream. Oh boy. Bad Marin, listen, it's fine. Hey, so she confused me with others. Did I say ordain? Did I say ordain? Is that what happened? Did I say ordain? I mean, I have 2 dinguses over here doing random emotes. How could you? How could you? Okay. Can't even get her dinguses right. Dingus 1, Dingus 2. Congratulations, you have new names. Ordained Dingus 1, Dingus 2 is now Ganon. Oh, good lord. Wait, what? Oh no. All right. I don't want to talk about that on stream since we've moved on from the usual beginning topics of shit that's going on. Okay. It's mainly why the DM goes off on random tangents and nagging her wife. 8 is less than 12. It is also longer than 6. Oh, so you're saying we can do 6 hours? So you're saying we can do a 6 hour, we will have a 6 hour stream this Friday, right? Right? Absolutely, right? Easy, 6 hour stream. Let's go. Let's go. The biggest shitty grin. I have no idea what you're talking about. Anyway. Yeah, I say it's fine. Go ahead. Too bad the only person that gets to decide is Hectic. We ain't even the same color or have the same badges. That's true, but y'all are posting the same goobery shits. Thing 1, thing 2 from the hit series Cat in the Hat. Actually used to watch the live action DVD on loop as a kid for some reason. I mean, it's not a bad movie. What the hell is this song? PvP by Amaranth. Huh. I didn't need to put that idea here. I see what I could do. You don't actually have to. I'm poking fun. It would be fun to do long sessions. But it's funner to say it when it's not happening, because when it does happen, sometimes we'll hit points where like all of us are just kind of like, okay, maybe this was really longer than we thought it was going to be. It's even worse if you do a 6 hour stream and then have to go to work. Like, I feel terrible if we sent you to work already completely fucking exhausted. Mike Myers made for a wild Cat in the Hat, I won't lie. Wait, was that played by one of the Michael Myers? That's crazy. To hide the big top that she stopped remembering the names of guests and just treating them by their actions. Guest 1, guest 2, guest 3, beef, guest 4. You've changed? What do you mean? Oh, I got you. I got you. Yep. I knew that'd be the funniest part. All right. She's changed after all the money and the women and the drugs and the women and the money and the drugs. And I don't have any of those things. Where did you get that idea? I ain't got no money. Okay, I have a few wives. That's all I got. I definitely don't do drugs. I mean, I have prescriptions, but that's it. And I need to buy those prescriptions probably tomorrow. Hopefully when Twitch payout comes around. Because that's going to be like just short of $200 for another 3 months supply of 2 of my meds and the next month's supply of 1 of them. I'm really hoping the price of my monthly med goes down. Because last year it went from $20 to $90. I'm really hoping this year it goes back down. Trying to decide what to do about Thin Blood's masquerade break sounds about as fun as watching paint dry. Yeah. I mean, it kind of depends on the players. How entertaining are the players? I gotta play VTM so bad. Listen, we all gotta play VTM. Where the fuck did Abby get these emotes? Not the fat emotes. That's crazy work. I can though. My chat is like bugging out for some reason. That like the first time I click on an emote, it doesn't want to load. Oh my god, fucking not fucking Miki's poot. That's not even a poot. That's like full on ripping ass. A poot is just like that's a full body shuddering, borderline pants shitting rip. That's insane. That ain't no poots. Crazy. Good lord. Rise, Anarchs, Rise? I've never actually played anything other than a Camarilla campaign, which makes me a little bit sad. I'd love to play other kinds of campaigns, just never had the chance. Good night, pretty. Sleep well. Have fun. Stay out of trouble. Don't burn anything down or I will find you. I will find you. Anyway. It's like them gave me washouts too. Yeah. Yeah. Whew. Oh, good lord. Mega Man drops January 7th? Christ. I remember seeing this weird dude like running through the fucking mall. Okay. I guess. Hasn't noticed that I have the emotes? Oh no, I saw it. Oh my god, it still will not open it. There we go. Did they use base V or is that like their version of V? I made one VTM character for a game before the shit fell through, and I think they were Malkavian. Oh. I mean, we did technically play a... What was it? 10 Candles? The 10 Candles did basically just turn into a prequel story for a Malkavian vampire, which is so fucking funny. It basically ended up turning 10 Candles. It was very cool. It was very fun. Yeah, it's unfortunately, I think I was the only one that survived. And in the end, the only way for me to survive was getting turned into a Malkavian. But my bookstore. That's funny. The thing too is I've never made a Malkavian because it's never like crossed my mind to make a Malkavian. So if I ever do drag her up again, I'm not even sure what I would do with her. Like what kind of utility she would perform. I mean, I don't think it was the plan all the way through, was it? Didn't we like during the commercial break, you asked me if it was all right if we did that or something like that. Wasn't that the case? I could have swore it was not like the plan the entire time. Unless it was, and I was completely out of the loop until the end. She's firm in her beliefs and can be relied upon, and I'm trying to romance nines presently. Amazing. I don't want to play Malky. I don't need to be attached to the Malkavian network. Too bad. Too bad. The thing too is like Malkavians aren't like their insanity doesn't always manifest as like debilitating. So like you don't have to just go straight like fish milk. Then again, different body of mind driving me to League of Legends event that I had. Oh, Buddy. It's supposed to be Buddy. Had no clue what was going on. I don't know, but I just had a habit of trouble finding me. The event was actually pretty good. I had a good time on that one. Okay. Can I make a Fabian milk? Yeah, pretty easily. Like his, what's the word? His derangement didn't seem anything more than like, oh, what was it? Anything more than just like talking to inanimate objects. So like pretty mundane, I'm not gonna lie. Huh. Attached to the Mountain Network? Always attached to the Mountain Network. Y'all can't run from me. Y'all think y'all got away scot-free? We've talked about this. It comes free with the ticket. Got a Malcolm the Tank that's lucid 90% of the time. It's a bit awkward, but on occasion he goes into a fugue state and goes little Oracle of Delphi. Okay, but do you Cassandra him or his prophecy is like really good? Still attached network, that's the problem for me? Okay. I suppose. On the Mountain work? The Mount, I don't have a ticket. You do in fact have a ticket. You had a ticket once before, you always have a ticket. You can't run, Ganon. Speaking of which, we're one follow away from 9.5K. So if there's anybody lurking who hasn't followed yet, you could set off that little goal. Yes, Cassandra's prophecies were always right, but no one was there to believe her. There it is. There's Ganon. Look at you, you fucking goob. You dork. And then he's gonna unfollow immediately. Are you, Ganon? Are you? You did. You fucking did. No, you didn't, apparently. It was just Twitch being slow on the update. Thank you. You subbed to Ganon. I demand uppies? Ooh. Ooh. All right, fine. Thanks for the gifts up. Enjoy your season pass, Ganon. Enjoy your season pass. Another bite marks a start of bearing ground the carnival. We can't trust a word. What? Only mods get neverminds? What do you mean? Nah, Ganon hasn't followed in like over a year. I don't know. At some point, he unfollowed and just never followed back. Plain is that this prophecy isn't great. Like in hindsight, everything makes sense, but in the moment, it sounded like he was screaming rapid bullshit. That makes sense. Like more uppies and the mods haven't gotten shit. Gotta get Sunstar uppies. I'll give Sunstar uppies. I don't know what song this is. Metallica, Whiskey in the Jar. I don't know this song off the top of my head. I do know this one though. I don't know that song. This song I do know though. The good song. I like the Motley Crue in here. I had Motley Crue, my vampire hearing. Bias at the big tent? Okay, no more bias. Sorry, Ganon, you don't get uppies. No more uppies. I was considering it. All right, chats. How are we feeling? I had Shazam. I could have looked it up for you. Oh, the song. Wait, looked up what? I Like Her 1 and Enter Sandman. There's way better. There's got to be way more Metallica songs. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know there's better ones. I know there's more than just those. There has to be. But, chats, I think we're going to call it. I think we need to find somebody to raid, and I still have my own tab open because Zebby raiding. Who is live? Who is doing what? I wonder. White Wedding? White Wedding is Billy Idol, isn't it? Isn't White Wedding a Billy Idol song? Okay. I'm not finding anybody that's really jumping out at me. Who is no one doing anything spooky? No, spooky. Oh no, that's Minecraft. Hannah's playing Arctic Eggs again? You know what? Rama literally just went live. Just went live. It looks like she's gonna be playing Dispatch. That is so loud. Why can't I mute the tab? Please and thank you. All right, chat. We're gonna raid Rama. Ramaya. Oh, I misspelled that. Okay, now I spelled it right. But it's used to the Yap stream. Now, did we break the Yap record? No, we've done longer Yap streams before. But I will see you guys tomorrow, noon CDT. We're going to be here, maybe talking World of Darkness. I don't know if tomorrow's going to be another Yap day. We'll see. We'll just wing it. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But until then, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for putting up with my Yap shit and not actually playing the game that we planned to. Until then, though, guys, stay out of trouble, or so help me God, I will find you.